Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Simplify Podcast. My name is Scott Hilse. Now, this podcast is brought to you by myself. If you would like a free trial of Shopify, as well as a free Shopify course in which I will teach you how to build, launch, and advertise your very own e-commerce store completely for free. I literally have nothing to sell you, and that course used to be $500, and now I'm just giving it away. So go to simplifydropshipping.com to claim those offers and support this podcast by supporting yourself and starting your very first e-commerce store today. Now, on to the podcast. I don't know. I feel like NFTs, I get the technology, I get the utility, but I feel like this has the .com bubble like written all over it.
That's what I thought too. When it came out the first time, I was like, it's gonna get everyone in, wipe them out, destroy all the bad, companies and utilities and NFTs, and start all over again, but with a cleaner slate.
Yeah.
So I think that's when it's gonna be the time to get in.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a pretty interesting space for the people that can get into good projects on this downfall. I think you have an opportunity for 50x, 60x life-changing money to be made over there.
So have you gotten into NFTs at all?
Not a single one.
You never bought one?
Not even one.
Did you ever have like someone like tell you to buy them?
Yeah, people told me to buy Bored Ape, and I was actually gonna buy one. Yeah, I was actually gonna buy one. It was going for $450.
$450?
Yeah, for 450,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I buy it? Do I hold it? And I was like, no, let this wave kind of kick in and wipe everything out before I throw money into it.
Yeah.
So I kind of paused, and now I think the floor price is 80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it makes sense. I know. Just verifying that. Like my biggest fear is to start these.
Yeah, I know that's happened to me before.
Oh,
it's like
man.
you go a whole hour and you're like, shit.
So yeah, actually, just to make sure, I'm gonna start a voice memo because there was an instance where the voice memo did save me at least a little bit, because you never know. But yeah, I remember January 2021. I was on a trip with Luca, and I brought this one girl who I've known her for 9 years, and I never met her. We met on an app called Gift Boom, which is even before Vine, and we just like kept in contact. But she got out there, and she's big into art, and she's like, yeah, my friends are doing this thing called NFTs. Have you ever heard of it? And she's like, look, my friend just sold his art piece for $350,000, and I didn't even pay attention to it. And it's just like, it's crazy how you don't know what like the next opportunity can be when it's originally presented to you. It's just like, it's kind of just keeping an open mind to everything, no matter what it is, or more importantly, who it was coming from.
Yeah, it's just I feel like when there's too many people onto one thing and it starts making the moves that NFTs and crypto and everything just start making, you need to be very cautious, because people get comfortable with the idea of making easy money. Like I know so many people that made $2 million, $3 million, $4 million in a span of 6 months, 8 months with NFTs, crypto, stocks, options, whatever. And then the following 2-3 months, guess what they did? They gave it back.
Yeah.
Plus more.
You're looking at one. You're looking at it.
With what? Stocks or crypto?
All of it. Like I just kind of became reckless because I started making more money than I ever have last year. And so like I call it, honestly, there's like a toxic investing mentality out there where like cash is trash, put your money in everything.
Yep.
And they say don't time the market, but the writing was pretty much on the wall at the end of last year that something was going to happen. So I just started rushing into like,
I'd be dumping money, right?
Yeah, I'd be putting, this coin might 10x. Let me put a ton of money into it. And then I learned my lesson, but luckily I didn't learn my lesson as bad.
But hold
as,
on,
like,
did you sell anything, or are you holding?
I actually sold everything like a month and a half ago. So
Really?
I avoided a lot of like losses.
Okay. Were you buying like altcoins, or like are you buying Ethereum and
No, see, yeah, that's the thing. I was buying stuff. I was buying like Avalanche, Litecoin,
Oh man,
Solana. Yeah,
and got crushed.
And like I was just watching. I'm like, because I was like doing some TA and I was looking back. I'm like, there's no way Litecoin's gonna break the 90 mark. There's no way Solana's gonna break 70. And then like, obviously Solana's at 30.
Yeah, like 34 right now.
Yeah, and Litecoin just got back up to 50. So like, if I enter in right now, it's like I've missed a lot of those losses. But
I still think we got more room to go on the downside.
And why do you think that?
I think there's a lot of things going on in the world that people aren't seeing. Right. Obviously, inflation being one of them. Inflation, they're saying, is at 8.6%. I think it's more towards 15-20%.
Holy
right. We have supply chain issues that are not going to get resolved anytime soon. Right. So a lot of people don't understand supply chain issues. When they see supply chain issues, they stop right at the delivery part. Right. But before a product gets shipped out and gets delivered, there's so many small pieces, about I think 12 or 14 small pieces that go into it. All of them have to align for the supply chain issue to kind of work. right now that we have a lot of ships at port that are stuck at the port for 2 months, 3 months, and that's causing the pricing of everything to go up higher. Wholesalers are jacking up their prices, investors are jacking up their pricing, so that's causing massive disruption, and that's going to keep happening. And then the second thing, if you look at the buy now, pay later plan, right? A lot of people in 2021 use that to purchase things.
Yeah.
And guess what they purchased? Material items, right? Material goods such as fashion items and clothes and bags and watches and things like that that they could kind of not afford. And now the BNPL, buy now, pay later plans are all getting crushed.
Yeah.
Right. So when you look at a firm, I traded a firm last year from 70 to $150. A firm I think is at $25, getting crushed.
Last I saw it was at 15.
Yeah, it's getting crushed. And the reason it's getting crushed is these people don't have the money to pay it back.
Yeah.
And all of that is slowly starting to wind down. And eventually, when it all starts to wind down in the markets, right, big money starts having an outflow from the stock market into safer investments such as bonds and things like that, which is going to cause an outflow from stocks, crypto, and all these speculative investments. So I think we have more room to go on the downside for them.
So does that mean you cut some of your losses on some of your positions? Because I saw you were a skills holder.
Yeah, I took a big hit on some of them. The reason I haven't sold my big losers yet is for tax purposes.
Oh, okay.
Because now I'm not going to offload skills, right, taking a massive loss and not recognize a big profit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I don't plan to sell any of the gainers this year or the upcoming 2-3 years. Now, let's just say in 2-3 years, I do plan on selling, I don't know, let's say Amazon, hypothetically, and I make a good amount of money on it. Now skills will step in and offset that. Right?
Oh,
Because
that's amazing.
I took a hit on skills. I took a hit on Fubo. I don't think skills is going to come back to 40 if I'm being honest. Right?
Yeah.
I bought skills around $20 long term, and I think it's dead. There's
Yeah.
some names that are not going to come back, like Peloton. I don't think it's going to come back to 150, $200 ever again.
Unless we somehow get another pandemic.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's so when interest rates are that low and there's that much money printing and that much demand happening, that demand can't ever be met again. And besides the demand, the money is never going to be that cheap again for at least the next
Right.
3-4 years.
Yeah.
So these companies that are growth companies are not going to be able to come back to the pandemic levels.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time.
So when you're talking about the supply chain issues, you're talking about the supply chain issues in China, right?
It goes into China. It goes into America too. Like there's a shortage of truck drivers, right, in America. So how are you planning to get things across state to state when there's shortage of truck drivers? Now, for them to bring more truck drivers on, what do they have to do? Pay them more money.
Mm-hmm.
Who takes the hit? The consumer does. Because the companies are going to up their prices to cover that. Then the consumers are going to have to pay for that. So see where small details, play a role
Right.
on the supply chain issues that no one pays attention to.
And what do you think caused because was there a shortage of truck drivers before the pandemic?
It was kind of the shutdown, right? So when the shutdown happened, getting all the pieces together aligned became very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then also when the shutdown happened, I think it created a very unproductive environment because
Yeah.
people were making more money than they were when they were working.
Right.
So it's like now people don't want to go back to work. Other people are finding new opportunities to make money, like the stock market. We had the biggest influx of people getting into trading the past 2 years. Same
Yeah.
thing with online e-commerce stuff and so many new businesses, and that's changing career paths. And being, let's say, a truck driver, I have nothing against it. People aren't as attracted to it anymore as they were before.
Right.
Because of new opportunities.
It sounds like it sounds like the writing is on the wall for a lot of, not even just in stocks, just across the board. I mean, I was telling my friend Josh, even walking down Times Square right now, I'm getting like, apocalyptic isn't necessarily the right word. I'm getting I'm blanking on the word, but I'm really disturbed at how many NFT, maybe it's because it's NFT NYC, but I'm really getting disturbed with how much NFT advertisement out there, crypto this, like I think there was like an ad for a calm where it's like bear or bull, stay calm or something like that. And I'm just like, it reminds me of that old saying about how the Rockefellers protected a lot of their money
Yeah.
before the Great Depression when the
Yeah.
shoe shine boy
Mhm.
was giving them stock advice. That's why, like, I think you're such an amazing person because you not only give great advice, but you have the experience and obviously the numbers to back it up. But on top of all that, like, I feel like, because you're 26,
27. Yeah.
I feel like any 27-year-old who's pulling in the money you are by yourself would be so braggadocious. I mean, most of them are online and they get very loud, but it's just like we were talking about before. It's like the loudest are often the...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on like how public investing is right now? Like,
I think it's good, right? So two things. I want to take a step back for a second. So a good friend of mine told me what they did with the NFT market and crypto market. A lot of hedge funds and institutions got into crypto, right?
mhm,
Prior a couple of years back. And what they did the past 2-3 years is they made it mainstream.
yeah,
They made it easy for the average guy to go buy it. The reason for that is they started offloading.
ah,
That's what conversations are. Not saying that's the case. And I'm a big crypto fan, right? I think Bitcoin, Ethereum has way more upside, right? Not the altcoins. I think they're going to get washed up. So I do believe that this thing that's going on right now, I don't want to say it was written on the wall. It kind of was, but it was hard to time it,
yeah,
right? So that's one thing that's going on with the street right now that everyone is kind of making an assumption about.
yeah,
But in terms of investing being public, I think it's a good thing.
yeah.
I think,
I
yeah.
think so, but it also goes back to like what I kind of touched on is like trying to find a key term to coin it, but like the toxic investing mentality where it's like if you search on Twitter right now, I hope it keeps dipping. You're gonna find people literally hoping that the investment keeps dipping so they can buy more, buy more, buy more. But like one thing that made me sell a lot of my altcoins is because like even though I do believe in certain projects, I had to take a step back and be like, okay, I might believe in this project, but can I justify the evaluation that it's currently at? And I think that's such a crucial point
Yeah.
that people just overlook instead of just saying like, if you believe in it, blindly buy it.
It comes down, I think that department comes down to a lot of people with emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll see a price at $200 and now it's at 20.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, it was at 200. I paid 200 for this. It's at 20, so it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But they're not factoring in the macroeconomics of things that are happening in the world, where that same crypto or stock or whatever it is can go from 20 to 5, 5
Right.
to 1, 1 to 50 cents. But because they're so stuck on it, they're like, oh, it's not going to go lower. It's not going to go lower, right? So my thing with the cycle we're about to go through is if you're in good projects, good companies, you have nothing to worry about. But if you're in bad companies or bad projects, most of them are going to die out in this cycle, which is needed, right? So a lot of people don't understand that recessions are needed for the economy or for the markets to go higher because it eliminates bad companies and bad things from the environment and the economic situation, right? Once that's eliminated, it makes the economy stronger for the next leg up.
Right.
So this wipeout of NFT and crypto that we're going to go through and we are going through, I think is very, very healthy to bring down real valuations for a stronger move up. And the next leg up we're going to see in the crypto market, I think in the next 4 or 5 years is going to be massive.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
I believe they call that creation through destruction.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's needed. I mean, even I think that's just the life cycle of anything. You know, I feel like all these wars throughout history, as bad as it was, some needed to happen in order for the creation to happen beyond that. And so it's just like I was saying before, the .com bubble, it's very like they did a thing where I don't know if you saw, it was a video of them talking about the .com back in like 2000 and they just replaced .com with crypto. And it was like the exact same thing people are saying right now. And so you're right. It's like most of these projects are gonna get an awakening for sure. And I think NFTs are more vulnerable than the average coin.
Yeah, and I think that market's going to take some time to come back up and reposition itself. Like even after the .com bubble, I don't think the Nasdaq, for example, made the same high until 2008 or 9, right? So it took 7-8 years for the Nasdaq to come back to the same high of 2000.
Yeah.
Right. And the big thing about this recession or whatever phase we go through is typically in the past, Feds would lower interest rates.
Yeah.
Right, to fight off a recession. But during this time, as we're going into a recession, what are they doing?
They're
increasing interest
they're
rates.
increasing it.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, what can they possibly do, or what will they possibly do to fight off a recession? Can they actually fight off a recession? Now, if they do fight off a recession, are we going to hit massive inflation? So they're kind of put in a tough spot where the best thing for them to do is, combat inflation and not affect the average American. But that is going to, as it is right now, affecting overall markets.
Yeah.
So it's going to get scary. I think it's going to get very terrible in the next upcoming months or whatnot. And a lot of people you're going to hear, they're going to say the market's bottomed.
Yeah.
I've been hearing that. Yeah.
I've been hearing that for months.
Yeah. Market's bottomed. But it's like based off what? Oh, technical analysis.
Yeah.
No, technical analysis on a macro view is BS.
Yeah.
It's outflow and inflow of money that works, not technical analysis. Yes, that works in day trading. swing trading for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, but on a macro event, it's about what's happening with the overall economy. You know, if
Right.
there's a lot of outflow happening and money going to the sidelines because of uncertainty, what do you think that's going to do? It's
Right.
going to drive these speculative investments more down.
Yeah.
And people aren't factoring that in. And the next leg down that I think we're going to see is going to cause a second level of margin calls.
Yeah, that's the big worry, right? Because do you know what happened? What happened when Bitcoin went from 20,000 to 18.5 when someone got liquidated for 320
I saw
million?
some firms got liquidated. Yeah.
Do you know which firms?
I forgot the names. I seen some firms got liquidated, and that's another thing, right? Talking about that, a lot of crypto went up to the massive levels they went up to is because every company was getting funding, they were getting massive leverage, and they started leveraging everything. And when the crypto market came down, which no one thought it would, they all got liquidated.
Yeah. Do you know, because I thought Michael Saylor had a margin call if Bitcoin fell below 21. Do you know if he got called?
So I heard about that, but he posted something on Twitter saying it was at 3,000.
Oh my God.
I don't know how he achieved 3,000.
Right.
I thought it was closer to like 18, maybe 15.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If it is 3,000, he's kind of safe unless we go there.
Right.
But if let's just say hypothetically it is at 18,000 and he gets wiped out, I hope he doesn't. I don't wish him bad or anything. Right. Once again, it's a healthy thing for the overall market to, you know, wipe things out and restart over again. It is going to cause a massive flash crash.
Yeah.
But long-term wise, things like that are okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's wiping out the fake money.
Yeah.
Which, well, before I ask you this question, I'm just wondering, when did you officially get involved with crypto?
I started buying a little bit in 2018, but when I really started buying was in 2020.
Okay.
I think it was after or before we did our podcast. I don't remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when it was around 10, 11,000. That's when I just started dumping money in. Even when I sold that SV, I was telling you, took all that money, dumped it in there, every single thing.
Amazing.
And it went to 60K, and the only thing is I sold 20% of it, right? 20% of everything overall, where in reality, I wanted to go liquid about 50, 60%.
Yeah.
And I even tweeted it in December, but it's like what happened in 2020 with my SPY play.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. Do I miss this move up? Am I selling early? You start questioning things, so I didn't liquidate all the way.
Yeah. Well, I think you sold 20% more than most people.
Yeah, but my plan was to be at 50, 60%. That would have been ideally very well.
Perfect.
You know, but just didn't execute on it.
Yeah, it's what do they call it? Not toxic positivity, but hopium.
Yeah.
A lot of hopium in crypto, way more than stocks.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because did I ever tell you about how I got involved with crypto?
No, what happened?
So my buddy was like, "Oh, you should join this Forex trading bot.
Oh man,
it's awesome. You just need to deposit $10,000 worth of Bitcoin in order to transfer it to the firm." I think I'm not even gonna say what the bot's name was, but I tried it and then it went down 20% like immediately, and I'm like, "Okay, that's like my cutoff. I'm not doing this."
That's it, yeah.
And then like what was funny was when I tried to transfer it out into my Coinbase, they have like sales reps trying to convince you to stay, and like
From Coinbase?
No, for the
Forex bot.
for the
okay.
Forex bot that I was using, because I was using a Forex bot, but through like a brokerage account. So the brokerage account was calling me and saying, he had this spiel. He's like, "Scott, what if I told you that to keep your money in for 3 more weeks, we'll give you 10%?" And I go,
yeah,
no. And then he was like confused why I was saying no. But eventually I got that money back in Bitcoin, just $8,000. But at the time that was 1.3 Bitcoin. And then the next day it went up 10%. And I was like, there might be something here. And then like that's when I bought a bunch of Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Litecoin. And I've been holding out on my cold wallet ever since.
You didn't sell any of that?
No. I look at that as like the one thing I will never sell. Like
never ever?
Well, I mean, I kind of look at it as like my retirement, because that's a good topic, because like.
Well, now hold on. Let me ask you this, right? And I'm a big believer in Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? But I'm also a big believer in technology changing.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to hold Bitcoin until retirement, 40 years down.
Right.
Now, I will hold it for 5 years, but I don't know if or can it get replaced.
Right.
I personally don't know the technology that well, and I also don't know how the market is going to change. So with the way technology has evolved in just 10 years, when I think about 40 years, I'm like, whoa, a lot can happen where Bitcoin could get knocked down.
Right.
Ethereum could get knocked down. Something else could come out. The whole infrastructure of money could change in a different direction. Not saying it is or it's not. So doesn't that kind of cross your mind?
It does. But the one thing about Bitcoin, I feel, of all the projects out there, it's the one thing that is truly unmanipulatable unless Satoshi Nakamoto comes out of nowhere. But Bitcoin is obviously at this point the gold stand, like the
Yeah.
gold, because gold, I mean, it's even better than gold because you can always find more gold and everything. So I think Bitcoin is always going to be there. Anybody who's saying Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar is dumb because they obviously don't understand how long it takes to
Yeah.
send money. Like I've paid for stuff in person with Litecoin before in seconds. If it's going to be anything, it's going to be Ethereum 2.0 or Litecoin. But in terms of like holding Bitcoin, I'm down to hold it forever in the sense of like I'm willing to take that risk simply because like that is the only project out there that's purely unmanipulatable.
What would be a selling price?
Selling
If there was
price
a number right now, 1 to tomorrow, that you would be like, all right, I'm selling.
$1 million.
$1 million?
If Michael Saylor's like predictions are right, because he sees it going to 1 to 2
And
million.
up to $1 million, you wouldn't offload anything?
Actually, honestly, since I saw it go up to 60,000 and then down to 30 and then back up to 68 and then now down to 20, I'd probably sell like you at 20% around like 100,000. But like that would take a lot because again, as bad as it sounds, like yeah, there's like an emotional attachment because I've held it for so
Yeah.
long. But like I'm fine with offloading anything else. But like those three right there, I just feel like I don't want to be in a position where I miss the boat because this is the ultimate question that I have to ask myself. Which is worse? Selling at the bottom and watching it go up
Yeah, I know.
or constantly watching everything go down? I'm not sure which is worse, honestly.
I think so. That's something I deal with too on some long-term plays. And I'm like, I have other things going on where that requires my time and attention.
Mm-hmm.
So if I start playing the tops and bottoms in all my investments, my time and energy get taken away from that.
Right.
Right. And now it's not only time and energy, it's emotional capacity too.
Yeah.
Right. You sell Bitcoin at 40K, goes to 60. I don't care who you are, it's going to bother you.
Yeah.
Not just the money, but the fact of being wrong.
Right.
So I'm like, do I deal with that or do I say, hey, my price target or my prediction for Bitcoin, where I'll offload half of it, is at 200 or 250,000, let's say, right? Do I hold it until there and I start selling and now taking that asset or that cash and moving it elsewhere? Or do I start playing the tops and bottoms? Now, if I want to play the tops and bottoms, I get fully involved in the crypto space or investing space and I stop doing my other projects.
Yeah.
So it's a battle of picking and choosing how much mental capacity can I, put into something. Like a lot of people tell me with stocks, they're like, hey, why don't you sell option calls on your positions? And I'm like, I lose way more money doing that. Well, that's what Warren Buffett does. Yeah, because that's Warren Buffett's full-time job. He also has over $250 billion in assets that he can sell against.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not dealing with $250 billion. And also, I don't have people under me that are going to manage my investments and sell calls against them to make 1% or 2% every couple of months.
Right.
That 1 or 2% isn't worth it to me because I can make way more in putting that time and energy into other places.
I'm really glad you brought that up because that's something I really learned more than ever in the past like 6-7 months is like that mental capacity.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, it
Mm-hmm.
affects you.
Oh, yeah.
Because I noticed like when the market was tanking, that was actually when I was doing 75 hard. And like what I noticed was like when, as bad as it sounds, because like I always try to say like I'm not emotionally attached, but we all are in some capacity. Yeah. I would notice I'd have worse workouts like when the market was tanking. I remember that day, I forget, that's when like everything broke, like Solana broke below 70, Litecoin broke below 90. I forget which day it was. But I remember I was working out and I just saw that and I just walked into the basketball court and I was just looking at these charts and that's when I was like, I think I need to sell right now. And then I did. And then like I noticed my focus went up on all my other projects because I'm working on a bunch that I can't necessarily talk about right now. I can talk to you off camera, but like I just noticed like these projects are just like doing super well, but that mental capacity and that energy, I wasn't able to like approach it to the fullest as I could because I was so distracted. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'd love for you to talk about that more of like what the average person like would misunderstand about that.
I think when you get into certain investments, you have to understand what was your game plan, right? So when I got into Bitcoin at around 10, 11, 12 grand, right? My game plan was I want to hold it for 5, 10 years, right? Towards at least 200,000. That's my target. Now I can once again play the tops and bottoms, but that's not what I'm going to try to play here because it's impossible for me to predict that top and bottom, right? It's like, how they talk about the S&P 500. If you invest your money over a course of 30, 40 years, you make 9%, 10%. Yeah, but that 9, 10% maybe comes from good 7, 8 years, not every single year. But you will only catch those years by being invested into the market.
Yeah.
So if you're invested at a good price point, right? And it does start going your way and you're in it for the long run, and nothing changes with the project. Let's keep that in mind too, right? And don't just buy something, hold it for 10 years and expect it to go up. Make sure nothing is changing with that project. Everything looks good. Just put it into an account and don't look at it, right? But that's only if you are doing other things. Your focus is on other things. But now if that's all the money you have and you dumped it into Bitcoin, or you dumped it into, Ethereum or any stock, let's say, it's going to affect you. Like, I know people that took out mortgages against their house to buy more Bitcoin. Not at 10,000, not at 20,000, not at 30, at 40, 50,000, because Tesla bought it. Michael Saylor's buying more. It can't go lower.
Do you know anyone who did that and bought UST?
I don't know about UST. I don't know if anyone did that. I know people did it with Bitcoin. I know someone did margin heavy with Tesla, and they got a margin call at like 7 something and got wiped out. Man. Over 100K plus, fully wiped out. Lost everything they invested, plus their unrealized gains and more. And it was because when they went in, they didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
And the plan is also, where are you going to sell?
Yep.
Some people go and saying, hey, I want to make 20%. They make 20%, I want to make 40%.
Yeah,
they make 40%, greedy. I want to make 100%. They make 100%, and they never stop. And it's like, hey, you need to have that stop point, especially if your time zone, right, is very small in terms of how long you're going to invest for.
Yeah.
So that needs to be a lot different.
Yeah. Every time I've gone against my trading plan, big flop.
Yeah, I know.
Have you heard of Opal?
No.
Opulus?
Opulus? No.
It's like a music NFT where like you own like certain shares.
I personally, when the NFT space came out, I personally stayed away from it.
Well, not necessarily NFT. I actually misphrased that. It's like they call it SFTs, but you invest through their crypto.
I heard about SFT, something about SFTs. I didn't look into it. I just, once again, for me, I have a lot of things on my plate where I've learned over the long course to not divert your focus away from the next shiny object.
Right.
Right. And if you do it, make sure you have the capacity and the time to do it, and you understand it. Don't just hop on the train, because if you hop on the train, you're eventually going to get crushed.
Yep.
Right. So for me, when NFTs came out, like I said, a lot of people try to put me on, hey, get in this, get in that. I told you. And I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Right. I don't have the time to learn about it. And it's the first wave. Right. I would rather wait for the second or third wave, right? When everything crashes, and then start looking into it, and when I have time.
Right.
So I don't even understand how it works. I don't even have an account on OpenSea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't even have an account, because I'm like, I know if I have an account and have downtime, I know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Start buying.
It's fun to buy.
Yeah.
It's
so I'm like,
it's
no.
the funnest thing to buy for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that Opal, like I bought it 320, and within 10 hours it went up to $4.40, and I went in heavy, and I was like, awesome. And then I put a hard stop at 280. It triggered a couple weeks later, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to miss the boat. I'm gonna put it back in. Guess where it's at right now?
What's it at?
Fucking 12 cents.
Oh my god.
So it's just like, it's always that thing where like it goes back to emotions. It's like it's such an emotional thing, just investing money, and like I think that
it's money. It's gonna be emotional for a lot of people.
Yeah. So what's your secret with trying to sever the emotions from the actual investments?
So the good companies and good like cryptos I have, I don't care. I'm like whatever about, right? I also have I have like Matic, and I have like a few small cryptos as well. I don't believe in them as much. But when I put the money in, I already went in with the mindset of either I'm going to 20, 30x this, or it's going to go to zero. And this is also money I can afford to lose if it goes against me, right? Now, in the selling part, I'm not expecting anything from them at this point. I'm just looking at it as a loss strategy. How do I take it, put it in for taxes, and take my loss and move forward? That's really about it. Now, in my situation, it's also different because I have a cash flowing business, right, and other things that are making me money.
Right.
So my day-to-day doesn't get affected. You don't feel like, I don't feel this crash. Now, if I go on paper and I look at the numbers, I'm like, shit. But in realism, I don't feel the crash, right? Because my day-to-day doesn't get affected. Right. And people need to understand that with investing. When you're investing, you need to make sure your day-to-day expenses and whatever lifestyle it is, it's maintained. Because whenever your investments start tanking and that lifestyle or that day-to-day expenses get affected, that's when it will start pouring into your day-to-day.
Yes.
And now you start making very reckless choices. And I've seen people do that, right? People have margined their Bitcoin, use leverage to buy more. And that was all the money they had. And some people I know with $4 or $5 million they wanted, right?
Jesus.
And
with leverage?
With leverage. I'm like, at a certain point, you don't leverage these things.
Right.
You want to leverage. Like, I haven't used margin at all. Like my whole life, I have not touched margin
Ever? Wow.
right? I'm going to touch margin. In the next 2 years, I'm going to go in heavy with margin.
Yeah.
Right? Because realistically, at that point, we don't have more downside.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We hit the peak bottom of a recession. You margin there. You're looking at a 10, 20x upside. But it was also hard not to margin, right? Because when I got in Bitcoin, I had the opportunity to double and triple my buys. It got to 20K, double and triple my buys. It got to 30K, double and triple my buys. And I'm like, okay, look at the worst case situation. If Bitcoin goes back down to 5K, look at the worst case. Can you take that hit? I'm like, I don't want to take that hit. I want to be in control. And if it goes there, I won't be in control. Right? So that's where like the margin, like never touched it, stayed away from it. But now there's so many companies like Amazon. I think we go to 70, 60 bucks, right?
Wow.
If we do, I'm going to buy it. We move up a little bit, take 30, 40% of the margin, buy more. Right? And keep doing that with so many names, but I'm buying at a very low point.
Yeah.
But now in the long-term aspect, I also have to make sure I have enough cash flow coming in from businesses and everything I do, where if I start hitting that margin call and I do take that risk, I can sustain it for the upcoming months. Right. I'm not just going to go in blindly and say, all right, I margined everything. I have no cash flow to support this. If Amazon or the market goes lower, I'm crushed. So that's the approach I would kind of recommend everyone to look at.
Yeah.
And if you did margin, this is kind of a good lesson.
Yeah.
Right.
Learn it the hard way.
Yeah. And I think some people need to.
I did margin once on, do you remember Body? Not Body, it wasn't bodybuilder.com, but it's ticker symbol Body.
What's the company called?
I wish I could remember. Oh, Beachbody.
Beachbody, no.
Do you remember when that SPAC came out?
What was it? The ticker was Body, BODY?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Maybe I traded it, to be honest. I don't remember.
I remember it was the one time I took margin ever. I took 6 figures with a margin.
Oh, man.
And I put it all into Body because I was convinced. And then since it broke to like 983 and I was like, fuck, I'm selling at a loss and all this stuff. I'm like, whatever, I got to. Because I thought SPACs couldn't go below 10. This is like 2 years ago.
Man, I took massive hits were all with SPACs.
Yeah. And now it's down to $1.12.
That's
like, can you imagine if I held that?
Yeah, that's skills for me. And I was up on skills.
Mm-hmm.
I got in skills at 20, right? It went to 40.
Yeah.
And I was convinced it's going to be the next Shopify. I look back at it now, it's not. It's a terrible company.
Skills?
Yeah.
Wait, well, why were you convinced that would be the next Shopify?
So when I looked into their whole business model at the time, and I was also biased, right? So one thing that everyone had, like a lot of people go through, and I go through it too, is when you have a position, whatever your position is, your mind is wired to convince that position.
100%.
If I sell it, mentally you're going to start convincing yourself, it's good I sold it because. Mm-hmm. If you buy it, it's good I bought it because. So what I try to do is if I buy something, I always flip it to, I should sell because.
Interesting.
So I didn't do that with skills. I got very attached to it, right? I was like, okay. And then also I think it's called a regency bias or something. I don't know what the word is, but every information I looked for online was to support my thesis.
Yeah.
Right? Anything that was against my thesis, I was like, no, that it doesn't make sense. So you go on Twitter, you go on Instagram, you go on StockTwitch, you go on anything, you look at, oh, they're going to be the next Shopify, right? This makes sense. That makes sense. And when things started coming down and I looked at it from a clear perspective, I was like, this is not a good company.
Well, I'm just confused. How could it be the next Shopify? Because
no, not the next Shopify, but the next Shopify in terms of gaming.
Oh,
that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, because weren't their profit margins like 85% or something crazy like that?
Yeah, even Shopify. Side note, Shopify had in 2016 pre-split. I had Shopify at $70.
Oh man,
$70. Which after split, I don't know what that comes to. $70 and Shopify went to $1,800, right? Mm-hmm. I sold it at $120.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of my pain from like 2016, 2015, 2017, 2018 carried over to now. Because I also missed the boat in 2020. So when I got into skills, I was like, okay, this is going to be my next 20x, 30x play that I missed, right? Even Tesla, I sold Tesla at pandemic lows.
Oh, really?
I had tons of Tesla long term.
How much, like 500, 600?
Shares?
No, I mean like...
the price? I don't remember what it was pre-split at the time. This was pre-split, pre-everything.
Because I remember I think it got to like 450.
Something. I remember I sold a little bit higher than the low point. because I was like, market's gonna go lower.
Yeah.
So I sold everything.
You sold all your stocks?
Everything.
All long terms and everything?
Everything.
Wow. So
Like-
your loss was more than the $500,000 on the SPY put.
Yeah, so I long term wise, I took a hit on everything, and then I started
Whoa.
rebuilding my position. One thing that saved me was Exxon. So I bought a lot of Exxon at around 30 some bucks, right? And Exxon is like at $90 now.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. If I did not buy Exxon at that point, my portfolio would have been down like 50, 60%.
Holy shit.
That's the only thing that saved me. And the reason I bought it was I was like, you know what? I want to sit on cash, but I don't want to leave cash in the bank. So I'll just park it in Exxon, right? ExxonMobil. And when I need that cash, it's liquid.
Mm-hmm.
So I can sell it and pull the cash out. Luckily, I never needed the cash. So over the past year or 2 years, that investment has went up 3x plus paying a dividend. And that's the only thing that's kept my portfolio like at a good point.
Wow.
If not, I would have been like crushed.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you still holding Exxon?
I'm still holding it. I think maybe I'll see Q3 or maybe Q4 if I plan on offloading it. If I do, I have some losing positions that I don't want to hold, and I'm probably gonna cut, like Skills being one of them, Fubo maybe being another one. I have like SOS. I put a little bit in SOS, nothing massive. Just take the loss, offset it with my winner, and kind of take it from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for in order to feel like we have bottom? Like, is there specific things, not only just in the markets, but in the world?
So I feel like first thing would be, obviously inflation would have to be controlled. Up until inflation is controlled, I think we're gonna keep hitting a new low, right? Second, as inflation starts topping out and reversing and maybe starts coming down a little bit, I want to see the market sentiment, right? Are we seeing more inflow or outflow from the market? How is the bond market responding, right? How is the real estate market responding? Because typically it starts off with the stock market going into other markets eventually. Then how are big companies like Amazon responding to supply chain issues? Is that slowly getting adjusted? How is consumer spending, right? Because we're going to find out consumer spending this summer, right? Do people actually have money? Do people actually don't have money? Because credit card debt's at a sky high level.
Yeah. I saw
People
that
are spending
graph.
money they don't have. So how is the world going to start handling all of this?
Mhm.
How is the war going to play, right? So there's so many things that are happening right now. It's impossible to puzzle it together and predict anything, right? But on a time span, I think within the next 2 years, we should start finding somewhat of a bottom, depending on how things go. And I think once we start seeing some consolidation in the next 2 years towards the election in 2024 and how the market responds to that, that's where I'll start slowly going in a little bit heavier. Like I have
Gotcha.
price points with things like Amazon. We go to $60, I'll dump money in tomorrow. Shopify, we go to 150, $200, I'll buy some tomorrow.
Do you have buys set at those levels?
I don't have buy sets.
Okay.
I adjust because it also depends why are we getting to that level.
Yeah, right.
So Amazon right now may look cheap at $60, let's just say, right? But when it goes to 60, or if it goes to 60, what if hypothetically we're in war with China? Let's just say. I'm not saying that's the case.
I
but
was thinking that too.
you know what I mean? So
Right.
now the whole game changes.
Yeah.
Now it's probably going to go to 20.
Mhm.
Then everything changes at that point, and that's what people don't factor in. They'll say like, "Oh, I'll buy Bitcoin at 20,000 or 15," and I'm like, for Bitcoin to go to 15,000, a lot of things have to go wrong.
Yeah.
And when a lot of things go wrong, the whole environment is negative. In a negative environment, to look at something and buy it, it's not easy, right? So it's like Apple, going back to Apple in 1999 or 1998. People go, I wish I bought Apple in 1998, or I bought Amazon in 1998. If my parents bought $1,000 of Amazon, I would have had 500K.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, Apple was 3 months away from bankruptcy. Like, Bill Gates stepped in and kind of saved them,
Right.
which was a black swan event. No one knew about that. It just happened.
And people say the same thing about Tesla, and Tesla was like 2 weeks away
Yeah.
from bankruptcy.
Yeah, Tesla was close to bankruptcy too. And Tesla, everything was written against Tesla, right? Up until even now, like they're not even included when Biden talks about EV companies. He doesn't talk about Tesla,
Yeah.
right? So even now, it's like people don't understand that. It's like, I wish I bought Tesla. No, you weren't going to buy Tesla. I promise you.
Why don't you think he includes Tesla when he talks about EV companies?
I read something about that. I forgot what it was. I'm not entirely sure, so I don't want to.
Maybe he has a big short on Tesla.
Probably, yeah. I'm not sure what it is. I read something about that. I think it was something maybe because they don't have a union or something. I'm not sure exactly. So I remember I read something about that, but he doesn't include them in anything when they're the largest EV company and employ everyone in kind of America, which he should. But it's all political at that point,
Right.
You know?
Yeah, especially since Elon Musk is kind of like, I wouldn't say loose cannon, but it's just so refreshing to see someone of that much power, that much wealth be actually real and not have like this facade. Like,
yeah, he doesn't care, and I think he has every right to not care, because
right.
everything was against him from since he sold PayPal to now.
Yeah,
Right. And I tell people, like, I promise you, you would not do half the things he's done.
definitely
If
not.
you got $100 million from PayPal, I promise you, no one's taking $100 million and starting 3 companies and being left with 0.
That's what I was talking to these two. So in St. Louis, I was going on this hike, and these two people followed me. Like, and they're like, we just followed you for your car. And then they ended up talking to me about dropshipping for like 30 minutes. But I was talking about that. You're like, you look at someone like Elon Musk, and I believe his co was 180 million when he sold.
Yeah.
Was it PayPal.com or was it X.com at the time?
It was X.com, and I think they converted it to PayPal. And
I got you.
something along the lines of that. Yeah.
But like, how many people in this world would get 180 million and be like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna not only just put all the money into 3 companies, put it into that day, and then he had to borrow money for rent,
he had to borrow money for rent. He had no money. He just put it all into companies.
So he deserves like all the respect for what he's done, because like, I mean, you could obviously with anything, real estate, you could have bought $100 million worth of real estate and then
retired.
your whole not only you, but your whole generational
set,
or forever. So it's just like for him to have that confidence.
Yeah, and when you go into 2008. In 2008, he had SpaceX, Tesla, and Solar City.
Mm-hmm.
They were all facing bankruptcy because we were going through a recession.
Yeah.
And I remember an interviewer asked him, like, hey, don't you think it's smart for you to save one company and get rid of the other 2? Like, why don't you do that? And he goes to the interviewer and he's like, hey, if I ask you, you have 3 kids, you have to kill 2 of them to save 1. What would you do? Would you try to save all 3? Or would you try to kill 2 and save 1? Right. And he's like, I look at this as a passion project, and the way he's done it and the way he's came about it, I think he has every right to be the way he is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of him for sure. This is what I was gonna ask you. So the reason I was so confident in, like, say Bitcoin specifically, since it's obviously just a store of value, I assume Bitcoin was a great place to put money in order to offset inflation. So I'm very confused. Why is Bitcoin tanking? Because inflation is increasing. I would think for sure. I could see how stocks could go down, but like with Bitcoin, it's like weird how that would be going down since it is that store of value.
I think it's still very small, right? So you go to gold, right? Gold has a valuation of 10 trillion, right? I think it's about 10 trillion or 8 trillion, right? Bitcoin is like 1 trillion.
Actually, I think it's more like 700 million.
Yeah,
now.
it's 700 billion. Yeah, it's way less
billion,
now. Yeah, I was like million.
Yeah,
Billion,
definitely not million.
So it's still very reliant on the stock market.
I have noticed that.
And I've said that in 2018. And the reason I didn't, like, I was going to buy a lot in on the 2020 crash that we went to 3,000. Like, I was going to go in heavy. Like, I mean, like, crazy heavy at that point. And the reason I didn't, I was like, it's too reliant on the stock market. And the stock market is negative. So I think crypto is going to go down more.
Yeah.
And then from there till now, the only thing I've seen is it reacts too much to the overall market, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
And it goes down to the simple concept of inflow and outflow of money. I don't think it's established itself as a core value yet. You know what I mean? It's not a core value where people are going to use it as a store of value or people are going to use it as a transactional value or anything. I think right now it's just a money-making thing. There's nothing behind it. And I'm not saying utility-wise, but I'm saying the people that are behind it are buying, selling, trading it. It's too much in terms of I want to make money. Here, I bought 1 Bitcoin. I'm going to sell it to you, make money. Then you have, companies in the middle making fees, and they want transactions happening like crazy. So there's too much control there right now. Gotcha. Too much focus there. I think over the years, it will kind of separate itself. And if it is able to separate itself, I think that's going to be the big win for crypto. And that's where Bitcoin itself, I see it going to 6 figures, 300, 200, 400 grand and plus. Yeah. So that's going to be like the big win. But right now it's too attached to the overall market.
Interesting. So I guess my other question would be like, I know assets are a great way to protect from inflation. So why are assets coming down right now?
Not every asset's coming down.
Well, I mean, I was specifically thinking about like housing starting to crack.
Housing is just, so far we're just seeing a little kind of crack because of what do you call it? Mortgage rates are going up. right? Because people don't buy housing prices.
Oh yeah.
People are
Right.
buying mortgage payments.
Yeah.
Right. Someone is not going and saying, "Hey, can I afford $1 million home?" They're like, "I can afford a $2,700 payment."
Right.
Right. So as inflation, as mortgage rates go up, the value of the houses will go down to kind of correlate that.
That makes sense.
Right. So that's why we're seeing that little pullback on housing. Housing is an interesting one because I think there's a lot of things that are happening from 2008 till now that make it very hard for us to see a big recession or big sell-off in the housing market. You got BlackRock buying single-family homes.
Yeah.
Right. You got Airbnb owners coming in and buying single-family homes.
Great point.
Taking away from the average American stepping in and buying homes. Right. That's causing like an average person can't outbid BlackRock over 100K.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's and they have a mission to buy X amount of homes over the few years, and that's causing a big issue in supply. Right. So the housing market's very interesting. It's just common where interest rates going up will cause a pullback in housing pricing, but the payments stay the same.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I think people need to focus on, payments. A $1 million home and an 800K home, yes, you see a 200K drawdown, but the payments are the same. So there's no real hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've seen you at some real estate events lately. Are you getting into real estate?
I want to get into real estate primarily for tax purposes, right? There's big tax advantages. I was thinking of moving to Puerto Rico or other places for taxes. And then when I kind of started speaking to like a lot of people that live in America and high, state paying taxes, they all said there's, once you reach a certain net worth in America, you're not supposed to pay taxes. Yeah. Taxes are for middle class. I know people are going to hate me saying that, but that's the reality of it, right? Yeah. The tax code is designed for the middle class. It's not designed for the wealthy. The way America runs is the more opportunity you create within America, the more tax advantages you get set by politicians that, these people nominate. So it's like when they go and they say, hey, tax the wealthy, like Elon, it's like, you guys don't understand. Like, he doesn't have 260 billion.
Right.
That's his valuation in a company.
Yeah.
No, he should get taxed on that. I'm like, no,
the wealth tax
doesn't make sense. Like, you can't.
It would be horrible.
So yeah. So my thing with real estate is primarily for taxes. There's a lot of ways to reduce your tax bill, cost segregation and things like that. That's primarily about it. I'm not looking to get into it in terms of, I want to make so much crazy money with it. Right. Because my whole focus point, even the last time we spoke, is focus on one vehicle that you're really, really good at. Use that to make as much as money you can. If you're good at it, you will. Take that excess amount of money that you have and go park it in safe assets like real estate, right? Like some stocks, not every stock, right? Some healthy stocks. Then take some of that money and go park it in speculative investments like crypto. No matter how much we believe in crypto, it's speculative.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, it's speculative. It's just the money that's being put. It's like, hey, am I okay with losing that? And then obviously once that's done, you just organize your finances better. And the one thing I realized was making money is one part, right? The second part is keeping it.
Yeah.
You got Uncle Sam taking half your, income away a year. So it's like, how do I reduce that into giving less back? Not in an illegal way, but within the tax code.
Right.
And there's people that make $100 million a year, $200 million a year, and they walk away getting money back from the government. Right. So it's like, how do you do that? How do you get to that level? And that's kind of where I'm stuck at now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you own any real estate right now?
Not right now.
Have you ever owned real estate?
I owned a property that I lived in, but in terms of investing wise, not so much.
And how come you didn't buy any?
So when I was 22, 23, I looked at real estate and I looked at it like this, right? I was like, do I go and I park $1 million or $2 million in a property? Now I have to deal with it in terms of headaches, right? Even if I get a property manager, it's still a headache that you have to do. It's another thing that's taking a piece in your brain.
Yeah.
Right. So do I play it on a scale of playing 1 million, 2 million, or do I go at a scale where I keep focusing on what I'm doing, grow that at a larger scale? And now when I do get into real estate, it's with 10, 20, 30 million plus.
Right.
Right. So that's how I've kind of looked at things. Like, I'm not going to touch a single family home. Nothing against it, but it's just mentally where I'm trying to go to. Right. A single family home is not going to contribute to that in terms of wealth.
Right.
Right. Unless I go buy 1,000 of them or 500 of them. But if I'm buying one, the headache and the problems that come with it, it's not worth it. Right. And that's the trade-off you have to, be okay with. Like, hey, this is where I'm trying to get to. If I start buying these single family homes or 4-unit apartments, they're $1 million or $1.2 million or 500-600K, and they'll make me 8% of my money. Is it worth it? even that one call a month, two calls a month, just dealing with that, I'm like, no, I'd rather go all in on what I got going on.
Right.
Right. So that's always been my approach, and it's working. You know.
No, that's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart. Do you follow Meet Kevin at all?
Yeah.
Meet Kevin. Did you know he only does single family homes?
Yeah, but I mean, majority of his money didn't come from that.
Right, of course.
Like that's what people don't understand. Majority of he's made a lot of money off YouTube. He's making $1 million a month off it.
Yeah.
Right. Single family home. Yeah, that was great, and courses and all that. Single family homes was a great storefront, right? And I mean that in the best way possible. And then he was able to leverage that to a larger audience.
Yep.
People go, oh well, he got rich. No, he didn't get rich off that.
Right.
Like that's where he has some wealth, but majority of his money came from something else.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I follow him. I saw he sold a bunch of his stocks in I think February. Right.
Oh well, he played that horrible. So he said he was gonna sell all the stocks in January, February, then buy back in March 15th. But
did he buy back?
He ended up buying back like he did it so messy. He bought it back like February 25th and then like sold February 27th and he did it all publicly. Like he bought back multiple times before the March 15th. And he did miss like $2 million in losses, but he still paid like all the taxes on those sales essentially.
Oh man. Oh wow. Yeah. See, that's the thing with taxes. A lot of people don't even go into. You know, you're selling, but now you got to worry about the taxes that come with it. Yeah, I saw his YouTube on I think January, February, and I was like, this guy's on a tilt. He's a phenomenal guy, great, everything that he's done phenomenal. But I think at that moment he kind of went on a tilt.
Yeah, and I honestly think a lot of that comes from the public pressure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because again, it's like, and this is actually going to go back to a question I was going to ask you like 20 minutes ago. Doug DeMauro, do you know him? He's like the biggest car review guy on YouTube. You might recognize him if you saw him, but
yeah, probably picture wise, yeah.
He was talking with Graham Stefan on his podcast, and he was saying how like him and his wife invested a bunch, like I think he either said 2020 or like back in 2010, and they're like made a lot of money on it, like they like 4x their money, and he was like they were thinking about putting an extension on the home, but he was like, I don't really want to take this money out, but then he's like, but isn't that the point of investing? Like at what, and he asked like Graham Stefani, he goes, at what point do we like use this money? Because isn't the whole point of like making the money is to use it for our life? And like Graham didn't even have an answer for that.
So this is my point of view on that, right? I think yes, when you have investments, there's an idea of using that money, but now it comes down to what is the investment, right? Mm-hmm. If it's, let's say, Bitcoin, and you and I sit here and we believe in Bitcoin, and we're like, in 30 years it's going to be at $1 million, right? Do we sell it? No, we take loans out against it.
Yeah,
right. Just take a loan out against it at 1-2%. Like I remember with my brokerage account, they were giving me 1.5% margin.
Oh my god,
1.5%. To borrow 40 to 60%.
Wow.
And the discipline that I needed to have to be like, no, was very hard.
Yeah.
Right. So now if in 10 years, let's say the prices that we buy things that are at 10K for, let's say Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is at 500K, you can take a loan out and keep your margin requirements at 100,000 or 200,000, right? 20-30%. You don't have to sell. Now you save on the taxes, right? Because you're not realizing you sell. And then you're only paying 1 or 2% essentially on the loan. So I think that would be it on good companies, Amazon, Apple, things like that. But I think if you're buying things that aren't great companies, offload some of it, use that money, and then kind of play with it in a smarter way.
Well, this is like a really long-term question I have for you, but at what point would you sell everything and walk away?
Like investment-wise?
Yeah. Or is there a day?
I mean, it depends what. Like Amazon, right? I'm just saying I don't plan on selling that. Like I don't have a time horizon on that.
So I'm saying, like, is there a point in your life where like you would just rather give it, say,
yeah,
kids?
I would give it away to my kids. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Give it away. I don't think I'd sell it.
Gotcha.
It would be one of those companies like Amazon, right? But other companies probably not, like Scales, no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Just kind of breaking down that's something I'll make money on and leave it. But Amazon, for example, let's just say Amazon or Tesla, for example, being a $10 trillion company in 20 years, hypothetically, right? Yeah. So at that point, I would just put it in a trust and pass it down.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah. That's the way I'd go about it. I don't like, unless I need the money and need to sell my investments for whatever the case is. But up until then, I would just keep it.
Gotcha.
You know, and the thing with assets is going back to the thing you were saying, you were asking Graham. It's about playing the game the right way, when you have assets, let's say you have assets of 20, 30 million, you don't need to sell it. Like, yes, you can sell it and use that money, but now you have $30 million of assets with the bank. The bank will easily give you a loan. Not even to go buy stuff, but just to play the game at a higher level, to go buy real estate, to go invest into a company, to start a company, whatever it is. You have assets and now you have leverage.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the ideal. Like, that's my point of view of having real assets. Like, I don't want to sell good assets. I want to use it, leverage it when I need money to start something. You need money to invest in something, need money to do whatever it is without touching it. But now I have leverage where I'm using the bank's money at 1 to 2%, being inflation, right? And technically getting free money.
Yeah.
As long as I know I can pay it back and I have a cash fund, right? So that's the way, like, my point of view with assets are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you keep going back to the cash flow business. I think people underestimate how incredibly important that is.
Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between someone who trades fully and someone who trades fully who has a cash flow business. And I know you know that firsthand. Yep. Before I ask this next question, let me just look and make sure. Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
That's a relief. So what's your end goal? Like, if picture yourself at 60, what would you say your ideal life looks like?
I stopped thinking that far. I don't think that far.
You don't think that far?
I think 2 years ahead.
Okay.
I don't. It's impossible to predict.
Yeah, because
what you like now, what I like now in terms of business wise, will and can change.
Mm-hmm.
Like trading, I don't know if I see myself trading for the rest of my life, if I'm being honest. I like it, but I've gotten to a point where I'm not as excited about it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm more excited about building companies, building things, and being involved in the building process.
It's so crazy you say that because that's what you were telling me 2 years ago too. But like, and I'm only bringing this up because you posted it on Twitter. It's like, you're saying how, like, you said, your passion's going a little lower on trading, but you're still able to pull in the 5.5 million. And that was just on day trading, right? Last year.
Mm-hmm.
So like, someone hearing that is like probably mind blown that like you can make all this money, but like they don't, like, I kind of get what you're saying is like, they don't understand like where your mind is with that, where like it's more than money at a certain point. It's about what you're doing on a daily basis that's making you happy or not.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to what are you having fun with,
mm-hmm.
right? I think, yes, money is great and it's very essential, but if you're good at something and you're having fun, you can make way more money in anything you do. Like, you can make money in anything you possibly touch at that point, in my opinion, right? You just have to be able to execute on it,
mm-hmm.
right? So for me, it's like, yes, you make X amount from day trading, but day trading for me has always been a vehicle. Like, there's no real substance behind it, if you really think about it, right? Besides money.
I'm glad you said it, because
I know that.
That's what I was going to bring up.
I know that, and I always say that there's no substance behind it besides money.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you building a company like TradeZella, for example, there's excitement behind it. There's actual impact you're making with people and their lives, and you're helping people in retrospect, and you're also building a great product. And trading, I'm aware there's no substance at all. You're just sitting in front of a computer screen, trading, making money, and then you walk away like, okay, now what? And a lot of people won't get that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there's days I've had 50K or 100K days, and I walk away and I'm like, okay, like, now what?
Yeah.
Right. And it's finding things that actually give you substance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But day trading is always there because, like, if you're good at something, you can go back to make money.
Right.
But now it's like, what do you do with that money? How do you go and use it to build other things and better your life and, people around you?
Yeah, that's the real question, right? It's like, when you have the money, what do you do with it? And I think, like you said, like, you don't like thinking more than 2 years ahead. Like, could you even have pictured yourself where you are right now, like 7-8 years ago?
There's a lot of things, like the SaaS business that I have, TradeZella. I never thought I was going to get into SaaS. Mm-hmm. I'm not into tech, right? With trading, I didn't know where I was going to be at this age. I did have certain goals in terms of like financial goals and stuff. I did know I was going to do well in it. After a certain point, I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I just didn't know when and how.
Yeah.
Right. But to the capacity of everything's at now, probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at the capacity it's at.
And I think that's that's a flaw I found in myself, and I think most people have that, where like, when you do think that far ahead out and you think that this is the way you want to go, and this, not only is this the way you want to go, this is how you want to do it. It's like David Goggins said, it's like you get so tunnel vision thinking there's one way to do it. He goes, there's an exit to your right, brother.
Exactly.
There's a faster way. You just gotta, it goes back to that thing where, like, if you think about a Kia Optima, your brain's gonna automatically start recognizing it everywhere. So if you approach life in the sense of, you have like a not a goal, but you're not too specific on like the pathway, I believe the brain's going to do the same thing,
Oh,
where it's going to
absolutely.
find those signs and pathways. But
Absolutely.
if you're so tunnel vision, you're going to be blind to a much faster route to what
Yeah,
you're
no,
getting
I,
at.
I agree. That's why, like I said, I just think 2 years ahead. And now my goals as well are not money driven,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I was younger, it was like, oh, I want to make $1 million.
Yeah.
I want to make 100K. I want to make this much.
Yeah.
Now the goals are reversed, where like TradeZella, for example, right? I don't have a money goal with that. My goal is to build the best trading tool in the market that's going to empower retail traders, period. Right now, if we do a good job at that, what do you think is going to happen with the money? It's going to show up.
Right.
It's going to come to the front door and knock like on its own without me chasing it. So it's like focus on one thing and be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And don't focus on setting the money goals. I need to make X amount this month.
Yep.
This needs to do X amount. Obviously, you're going to have money goals to anchor off it. Like I have money goals to anchor off stuff, but the main focus still goes on making this the best tool for the next 2 years. Now, in the next 2 years, I don't know what's going to change. Right. I don't know if I'm still passionate about the project. I don't know if I want to trade in 2 years. You don't know what things happen in life that kind of put you onto a different route. So it kind of leaves you open to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I just think 2 years ahead, and that's it.
Man, that's great advice for sure.
Yeah.
That's great advice. What are you still running Ashraf Capital?
So I started Ashraf Capital in 2020 during the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea was to fund traders and have prop firm traders and blah blah blah, right? And COVID happened, kind of shut us down. Couldn't let people come into office. It became like a huge protocol thing.
Because this was in California
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So when that happened, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I didn't want to do it was because I didn't want to deal with people.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't want to have to be in one spot.
Yep.
Right. Go and deal with people, deal with the day to day. And at that point, you're required to be grounded in that area.
Yeah.
And when it's kind of one of those things when you think you want something until you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, actually, never mind. I don't want this anymore. So I did it at that point to start it. We had all the paperwork, the filings, everything done, the funding from, brokers and everything set up too. But then when COVID hit and I thought about it again, I was like, I actually want to push this off.
And when did you make that decision?
I think it was like the summer of 2020. It was like 3 months after.
So when I visited you in California, I believe that was October 2020.
Yeah.
Was that office for?
That office was for that, but I had a year lease on it, so I couldn't just walk out. Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when I kind of did it, I was like, I don't want to manage people,
Mhm.
right? Because we're gonna give people money and they're gonna be managing it. I'd rather deal with one person that's gonna run the firm
Yeah.
who I know can run it, and
Yeah.
I manage that one person.
Yeah.
But now I managed 15, 20 people to make more money, because essentially the only thing the firm's doing is making more money.
Mhm.
There's no real substance once again behind it.
Yeah.
So that made me rethink a lot of things. It's still on the table of like the idea and potentially starting it in 2023.
Mhm.
But like I said, I need the proper team to run it. And it would just be simply to make money, where my involvement is very limited.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a way to still make money from trading, but not directly from your own trading.
Yeah, because I know the problem traders have, and I'm very good at working with people. Like, I've worked with traders one-on-one before, and I've helped them figure their problems out, and they
Mhm.
became profitable,
Yeah.
right? And I don't want to say it's simple, but it's you can systematically improve people, right? And help them get to the 6-7 figure mark. So for me, it's a way of making money using my skill set that I've obtained over the past 9+ years. But it's like, okay, how do I do it with the least amount of involvement and responsibility that I can have?
Gotcha.
Because if I have tons of responsibility, I'm dealing with 20, 30 people. Honestly, I'd rather not do it.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a life I want.
Because you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember in the part where Robert was like, he goes, "Trust me, 99% of you do not want to be the head of any company."
Mm-hmm. And people don't understand that. People see the fun part. I'm like, it's not fun. Trust me. Like, sometimes you have 4 or 5 meetings a day, and everything you think and process requires so much detailed thinking that it drains you.
Yeah.
Like by 2, 3 p.m. I'm like, shit, I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, people are like, no, I want to run that. I'm like, go ahead, run it. It's not easy. It's hard, but it's a lot of people haven't experienced it to talk about it.
Right. Because like Elon Musk even said in that interview, he goes like, "No one should work as hard as me." Like, this is inhumane. Like, I don't think people say they want my life. I don't think you really do. And I mean, I couldn't imagine running even one of those companies, but all 3 together. But he seems like a happy guy. But I think he's such a, not to even bring him up again, but he's such a special case because you know, they say, like you were saying, focus on what one thing that you're good at. I think that's a special case where he can focus
Oh,
on
he can
three
focus on.
things.
People bring him up. They're like, oh, well, he does. I'm like, yeah, well, he's very, very smart. I think he also has Asperger's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It allows him to be very obsessed and focused on different things, like locked in.
yeah.
Where most of us, like, I can't do that. I can't
Hmm.
build 4 or 5 companies like the way he is. It's impossible. I don't have that mental capacity.
Yeah, I really like when you can tell someone's building something and it's obvious it's not for the sake of money. Like he's building it, everything. It's always been about colonizing
Oh yeah.
Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And like even with Kanye West, he said himself on Joe Rogan, he loses money on his music. When he goes on tour, he loses money on his tour, even though he's selling out every arena, because he cares so much about his craft and so much about like the performance in itself that he's fine spending more money than he's making just for the sake of making it awesome. And I think it's applicable to everything you do in life. Like if you do stuff for the sake of just doing it because you love it and making something great. Even Alex Becker talked about that.
Yeah.
Do you follow Alex Becker at all?
I think he's a smart guy, super smart guy.
Oh
That's one
yeah,
guy I really, really follow.
yeah, same.
With Market Heroes, I think it's called, or what's it called?
Oh, what is it?
Yeah, I think he's a really, really smart guy.
Hyros.
Hyros, yeah, he's a really smart guy. I started really paying attention to him, I think, in 2019,
Mhm.
2020. And very relatable and smart guy.
Yeah. I remember when I was living in Colorado over the summer, I would just walk around the lake listening to his old mindset videos all the time. Man, I learned a lot about him.
Yeah,
Like,
the guy's very smart.
I'm this close to selling Umar. I'm this close to selling everything I own and just going with like whatever I can fit in those 2 backpacks, just because of like everything he's talked about. But like, I mean, we even saw Elon Musk just sell all of his houses and everything like that. So like for example, I'm in New York City right now, and the only reason, like, I think it'd be cool to stay here for like a month, but the only reason I'm not is because like, oh, I got like, you know, I got my stuff back here, I got this lease and everything. But like, I don't know, have you ever like at any point of your life thought about approaching life from like as minimalistic standpoint, kind of like he does?
I did. I think it's cool, but it depends, like how minimalistic. Like not Alex Becker. Like
Yeah,
the guy has a table stand or a work stand in his living room. That's it.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, if you want to do that, but
Well, I think he's actually reversed that standpoint.
reversed that?
Because have you noticed in his recent videos, it's like a soundproof
yeah, I
room?
haven't seen watched anything recently because he got into crypto very big.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I think in 2020, he used to watch everything.
Yeah.
He used to put out. But I think it needs to depend on your personality.
Right.
Like Sam Ovens,
Mm-hmm.
right? So a lot of people try to mimic him
Yeah.
and everything he does. And great guy, everything he does is phenomenal. But the way his brain is wired, that's not how everyone is wired. I can't do what he does. Like it's impossible.
Yeah.
Like he's too, because he has an engineering mind. He's too, like he has to have everything to the dot.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he does, right? And that works for him. Like he tracks his sleep, his workouts, his work performance, everything. And I tried to do that one time. I'm like, shit, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm more of a free flow type of person who works off the flow of things. And you need to embrace that. And that's for everyone else, even watching and listening right now. It's like embrace how you are and what
Yeah.
works for you. Don't try to say, well, this is how Alex Becker is, or this is how Scott is, or Umar, or whatever. I need to do that. No, like figure out what works for you.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite Drake lines ever. He said, Mike didn't rap like Pac, and Pac didn't sing like
I know what
Mike.
you're talking about, yeah.
That's my dad's advice on how to make it in life. Because that's what it is. The biggest people approach it in their own specific way, but they also found their own specific way by pulling from so many other people's specific ways. Like,
yeah, you just got to be unique. That's it. Be yourself. And I think if you're yourself, everyone brings something special to the table by being themselves, and you just got to find out what that is,
yeah. What do you think it is for you?
In terms of work, I've learned I'm a lot better by not being structured.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I try to be very structured. I just don't operate well.
Yeah.
Like I can have a schedule tomorrow and I'll be miserable.
Yeah.
Like a lot of, like, there's some things that need to be scheduled in terms of meeting and speaking to people, but everything else, because you're not supposed to manage time, you're supposed to manage energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm pretty sure you heard that.
Yeah.
So there's times you will have very high energy in terms of work and creativity and productivity. And there's times you'll have very low of that. But now the times you have high energy, that's when you're going to have the most output. So now I can't schedule tomorrow from 3 to 6. I'm required to do X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
And perform at the highest level. I don't know how I'm going to feel tomorrow. Right? So there's certain things that with me I've learned that I do a better job free flow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like with TradeZella, for example. Right? We're supposed to have a meeting to plan the next quarter. Now I need to know when I feel the best and I can operate instead of having a very drained day and say, I need to do it. This is something I have to do. Because I think at certain levels, you need to know when you can perform the best. Not, I need to get this done today. I need to get this done today. I need to get this done today. Yes, some things you need to get done, but some things you need to do the right way and get done 2-3 days later. So I've learned with me, it's just kind of free flowing things within a small structure, not a tight structure. I can't work in a structure. It's just no way.
No, I learned that when I was doing the 75 hard. Like before, I'd always try to do like, okay, from wake up at 7, meditate till 7:30, go to the gym at 8, work out till 9. Then with the 75 hard, I've noticed like instead of having like this time, I'd rather have task, and then box, and then check off those boxes the way I feel and see fit for that day.
Yeah, no, I used to do that too at a certain point. I would, like, when I lived in Miami, right? It would be wake up at this time, meditate, have coffee, trade, have a trainer, go to the gym, come back, eat. And it was a very systematic life, but you're also kind of a zombie.
Yeah.
And for some people that works and some people need that structure, right? I don't like that structure. I'm also the unhappiest in a structure like that, right? I'm more happy in a structure where like I don't wake up and have a morning routine. I even tweeted that the other day. I wake up and there's days I literally wake up and I go on like a trading computer.
Yeah.
Like I don't, like, how people talk about, can I see a day in the life of a trader? And I'm like, I'm not going to make you guys a fake video of me waking up, going to the gym, meditating and doing, everything, and just to show you what you need to be doing. In reality, I wake up and I trade. I'll shower sometimes. I'll go get coffee sometimes. That's about it. Because there's not a lot of activities for my brain to do before I do the actual work.
Right.
A lot of people do so many activities that by the time it's time to do the work, they're tired.
Man, those day in the life videos are interesting. Have you ever seen any of mine?
I've seen your trading one, I think.
The trading one?
I remember you had a trading one.
Yeah, it was like mainly satire, just like poking fun at it. I remember this was before the trading one I did, Day in the Life Pro Dropshipper Part 3 in LA. And I started off with like saying like, all right, it's 2:47 a.m. I'm waking up 2 hours before everyone who's waking up at 4:30 a.m. And it's just like what you were saying. It's kind of like pointless. That's why I like the entertainment side of that. But yeah, it did pretty well actually.
But that's what I'm saying. It's great for entertainment.
Exactly.
But then when you go into the reality of it, it's not like that. Like, I don't know for you, for me, it's not like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's days like I wake up at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., I don't trade. And people are like, oh, it's good you didn't trade today. I'm like, honestly, I wasn't awake to trade. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm not going to take the credit and say, yeah, well, I chose not to trade. No, I woke up late.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think after certain stage, that's okay. In the initial years, you need to put in the work. You need to, grind and do all that stuff and build the foundation. But I think when you get to a certain point, you can allow yourself to free flow if that works for you.
Yeah. I like the idea of just having that test.
Yeah.
Check out the mark. Are you on TikTok at all?
I wanted to get on it plenty of times. I just can't get myself to make a TikTok video. I know it's a big market. So what I was thinking of doing is I kind of want to go very hard with content in the upcoming months. And I'm still kind of stuck in between it, right? And I'm like, if I do content, I will hire someone to take my YouTube videos, get clips from that and upload it.
Yep, that's the best way.
I will not make TikTok videos. Like and I'll tell you why. Not because I have anything against it or I think it's bad. It's just when you look at it from a professional point of view in terms of trading, like, hey, I'm walking out saying I made X, Y, and Z from trading. And then I'm here setting time aside to make TikTok videos.
Right.
To, like, what's the end goal? To sell more courses?
Right.
Like, where am I trying to go? Right. And for me, where I'm trying to go in terms of financial wise, I can't put my time into convincing myself to make them. They're great for exposure.
Yeah.
But then to get to that end goal, I'm like, I can't. If someone can make the videos for me and take my existing content, great.
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting in front of a camera doing that.
I mean, I got someone who's actually messaged me every single day for like 2 years saying we can cut up. I think it's called, I'm not even going to say their name. They don't deserve the exposure, but they've been trying to sell me on that for a while. Do you know Iman Ganzi?
Yeah.
So
super smart guy.
Oh yeah. He tweeted actually the other day exactly what you said.
Yeah. He's one kid who's younger than me, and I like really respect.
Have you ever talked to him?
We've DM'd, we've spoken, but we've never like had like a conversation like on the phone or in person.
Right.
Super smart guy. He's what, 22?
23.
23. Yeah, very smart, and he's, I think, one of the people that's younger than me by 4 years, and I'm like, yo, this kid's fucking smart as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's so cool how you can see his entire journey on YouTube,
Oh
like
yeah.
from day one.
No, what he's building like this, he's going to be at 100 million in like the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I know that by 30 he's going to hit 100 million with
Yeah.
with his SaaS company, education company, agency, like
And the NFT just launched.
everything. Yeah, and he
That
did
killed
very
it.
well with that.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't get is in any space, people are very quick to knock someone down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, it's like they try to find flaws. I'm like, yo, the kid's 23. He just did an NFT launch, which is very hard to do. Like I probably can't do that right now, impossible. And he did what, 2 million on the launch,
3 million.
3 million on the launch.
Yeah, but then like the floor price went from 2.4 to I think like 16, 18.
I saw. I was gonna buy it. I missed the date. I was gonna buy it just to check it out.
Your first NFT.
Yeah, I was gonna buy it just for that, and I was like, I gotta make an account. I gotta do all that, so I kind of pushed it off. I know a few people that are in it, but I mean, phenomenal guy.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go see him in August. Actually.
Oh, you're doing an interview with
doing
him?
a podcast.
Oh,
with
nice,
him,
nice, yeah.
So I'm excited for that, and then I actually might be moving to Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh, really?
In October and November.
I heard Cape Town's beautiful.
Yeah, and he has a house down there too, so it'd be really cool. But yeah, it'd be really interesting. Well, you were about to say you needed to make an account on OpenSea. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to make an account, right? Like OpenSea works with Web3, so you just connect MetaMask.
Oh, I didn't know that. I never got to
Yeah.
the registration page. I didn't even look into it. Like I said, when I see something that is going to be an extreme, I'm like, just stay away from it.
Well, see, that's the thing. When I started, that's what blew my mind, because I was like, oh, you don't have to create an account anymore on Web3, and all you need is a MetaMask. So all these websites, you log in with your MetaMask, you don't have to create an account. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, there might be something to
There's
this
something
technology.
here. Yeah, there's something going on. Yeah, these technologies, I think in 10 years, people are going to look back and say, I wish I got involved.
Yeah.
So I think if anyone is young and has all the time in the world, I would look into these things, right? I want to look into them. I just don't have the time horizon in the next couple of months. But once that does open up, that is the space I'm going to get into.
Yeah.
NFTs with Web3 and all that. That's the next target that I'm going to focus on. Crypto. Next crypto wave is going to be big.
Big.
Any SaaS company or service or platform around that is going to be big.
Yeah.
So position yourself for the next move up so you can capitalize on it. Right. So that's my focus after what I'm doing now.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to look back on this time in like 10 years and be like, remember the time when we saw the NFTs with the melting face on Times Square? Look where they are now.
Yeah.
Because where do you see like the future of NFTs as a utility going? Because obviously it's going to phase away from like just pictures of monkeys. It's going to go like, I think concert tickets are an obvious one. Like, where do you see like the big future?
I think with the knowledge I have, which is very limited in that space, and it's just me brainstorming and thinking out loud, it would have to be with the VR world, right? You having land in the VR world, me and you meeting each other in the VR world, us having meetings, us owning certain art pieces or certain valuables that have, a certain price to them. And that's where I think it'll maybe hold value, right? In realism, even art pieces, what's special about art pieces? Nothing. It's just, what are you willing to pay for them? Right. Even when you go to these expensive luxury items, they cost $100, but they sell for $5,000 or $50,000. Why? Because there's a buyer in demand for that. Right. So I think if the NFT market can create that in, let's say, the metaverse, right, I think that's where we will kind of see it step in. But once again, I have very limited knowledge on it. I've never really dug inside of it to know much. That's the only piece I can put together.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But what about you? What do you think?
About the whole metaverse, like, or just NFTs?
NFTs. What do you think NFTs?
I think the utility is going to be actually applied to real world instances. The thing with the metaverse is, to me, like me and Luca talked about this. Like, I think a lot of people out there are very unhappy with their lives and they're constantly looking for an escape. Right now, it's drugs, video games, or whatever. My concern with the metaverse is now, like, this is going to take that escape to another level.
Another level, yeah.
And I think in a way, to me, it's a little depressing because it kind of feels like people are starting to give up on the real world.
Yeah.
And they're starting to look into the metaverse.
I mean, that's already happening if you think about it with Instagram, social media, and everything. People are more involved with their phones than the real world.
But I mean, this would be like
on an extreme,
where, like, when you're looking at your phone, at least you can see the world around you. Like, when you're in the VR, you don't even know where you are anymore.
Well, you know what they're saying with that? I don't know if you read Ray Dalio's book. I skimmed through like key parts.
Principles?
No, the new one. I forgot the name. he's basically saying how China, or there's going to be another nation that's going to dominate the world in the next 100 to 2 years, and how China has an agenda to dumb America down, and all the factors that are leading to America losing power in the next 100 plus years are happening. And he studied nations for the past 5,000 years, empires, wars that happened, companies and nations that took over, and why they navigated away. And he's like, all of this is constructed to weaken America.
When did this book come out?
Recently.
Did you talk about TikTok?
Yeah, he spoke about TikTok.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
not allowed in China. It's allowed here, and it's dumbing down our, community and
Yeah.
people and kids and the next generation. And by the time this generation gets to 70, 60 years old, the next generation is going to be dumber and so on.
Oh man, it's looking bad. Have you
Yeah.
seen their TikTok in China?
I don't think they have TikTok.
They have I think it starts with an A, but it's basically the same thing, but their algorithms tailored for specifically showing like science experiments, childhood discoveries, and
I
all
didn't know
that. Yeah, and then you're only allowed on it, I think, like there's a time limit, so you can't go on it from a certain time to a certain
really?
time. Yeah.
Wow.
So like it's interesting. Like it seems like I call it algorithmic warfare.
Yeah, that's what's going on. That's the big war right now.
Mhm.
It's not fighting and bombs and missiles and things like that. It's actually the internet and how they're controlling what we're seeing.
Yeah,
And China's doing a good job at it.
they're doing an incredibly incognito job
Yeah.
of it. Like it was weird how they were thinking about banning it 2 years ago, and that kind of just like went away. I think Microsoft bought the U.S. version,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I wonder how much China still plays into the U.S. TikTok version, even though Microsoft owns it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested. I'm not sure about that myself, but
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure a lot. If I had to guess, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And no hate to people who use TikTok a lot, but I noticed there's like a big divide to people who do use TikTok and people who don't. Like the words they're using, the expressions that they're saying, like the references they're making. It's so crazy. It's like two different like
Yeah.
entire worlds. I've never seen an app this impactful on like
It's
a
kind of like
person.
Vine, but like Vine failed at it,
Yeah.
right? TikTok, I think, monetized it very well. Great app to get exposure and everything. But I think the narrative that that China is running is they're doing a good job with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So on a global scale, where do you see things going? Like, do you think we actually do get? Because a lot of people are theorizing that China might attack Taiwan and then group up with Russia. Do you see this amount of extreme things happening?
I'm not sure, honestly. I don't have that much knowledge on how deep that can go. I don't even want to speak on that. I do believe, in the next decades, America will be less in power.
Mhm.
I do believe that. But in terms of them attacking Taiwan and stuff, don't really have that much knowledge or looked into it to
Yeah.
kind of, make a move, which it makes sense for them to do it, right? It's a smart move on their end, but do I think it'll happen? Probably with the right timing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard the conspiracy theory that Putin is Satoshi Nakamoto?
I heard that.
Oh my gosh.
I heard that. I heard that, but I don't buy it.
I would love to know the real story behind it because a lot of people think it's the CIA.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't think it's him. I heard that. I heard a lot of crazy stuff about who's behind it and who's not. Some people even said Elon is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think within time maybe we find out if we're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any theories on who Satoshi could be?
Once again, some things I'm a curious person, but some things I'm like, there's no way to find out.
Yeah.
I can sit here and guess all day, but there's no hard evidence for me to point anywhere.
Yeah.
So I just try not to get my brain screwed up.
Man, that would be crazy if he did like resurface or he just like sold everything.
Maybe in
one
a few
day.
years. I don't know. Maybe it comes out. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's a bigger agenda or mission that we don't really know about.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people look at crypto and they kind of look at it as like, oh, it's like incognito, but it's like everything but. Like if you find someone's wallet address, like you can
that's it.
track everything,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of what they're doing with like technology in the way of they're tracking where you're going and what you're viewing, or even like an app like TikTok, they're tracking the websites, you're going, everything.
Yeah.
So it just seems like what cryptocurrency is doing is kind of what technology is doing. Like XXX Tentacion said, the new world order is already here, and it's in the form of technology. Like just being able to control the masses. Like do you remember when Hawaii got that fake bomb missile threat on everyone's phone?
Yeah.
Like, man, I just can't even imagine, like, say, like, Mark Zuckerberg, like, what he could do having, I mean, not even Mark Zuckerberg, like, even with TikTok, do you know how many people are active on TikTok per month?
It's close to, I saw a number, I saw 1 billion. I don't know what that billion was. I don't know if that's active or users they have.
They said, yeah, active.
Wow.
They have more users than 1 billion, but they said 1 billion people at least activate, like, TikTok once a month.
Huge.
So like having that much power, and like you control the world in a sense, but again, you don't control like the other 5 billion. And that's something that people kind of overlook. I think they said like people who are connected to the internet, this is Kanye, so don't quote me on this, but I think he said like 10 to 15% of the world's connected to the internet, which is crazy because to me and you, like the internet's everything. Like that's how we're connected, and that's how honestly like me and you met, everything. But like if you think about it, like let's just say 70%, 60% doesn't, like 60 to 70% of the world has no internet at all, and they don't even know or worry about the same thing that we're doing. And I've always thought that because like I'll walk around New York City and a lot of people are uptight, you know, they're stressed out and pissed off. And then you go to a village in Africa and these kids are all they have is like a soccer ball and they're the happiest kids in the world.
Yeah, they're not exposed to any of this.
Exactly.
They're not exposed to anything beyond that. And their happiness and dopamine come from other stuff. And they're more grounded than we are. We have, you know, first world problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in a way, they say those people are happier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here we have too much comparison, too much things that mess with our brains and minds on dopamine, things that are kicking in, bringing us high and low, that causes this depression thing that's going around.
Yeah.
You know,
have you ever done like a dopamine detox?
I've tried it. It's I maybe I didn't do it the right way. What I've noticed it did for me, it's like you have no dopamine for like a day or two, but then you get an extreme amount. So I don't. Not really. I tried it, but I didn't see a benefit. Maybe I didn't do it the right way. It's kind of like, you know, when people put their phone away to be like, hey, I'm going to put my phone away and work. And then when they get their phone, that whole 2 hours they're nonstop on their phone.
Yeah.
It kind of defeats the purpose.
So what do you mean by like you don't have any dopamine for a day and then you get an extreme amount?
So it goes from, let's say you talk about not being on your phone for 2 days, right? You're not on your phone. You're not on any technology or away from that. And immediately when you do get it, you indulge a lot because you didn't get it for 2 days.
Right.
Well, that's what I did. I tried it. For some people, I think they can, if you maintain a moderated amount continuously, I think you're okay. But if you go from one extreme to the other extreme, it doesn't, like, in my opinion, doesn't benefit you if you do it that way, which is how I did it, which not saying everyone does it that way. But yeah, I never really been into it. So I think you tried it, right?
Well, yeah, I guess the 75 hard would be applicable to that. And what's really interesting for me is the first 3 weeks were a struggle because I gave up caffeine. I gave up everything like completely because I wanted to do it the right way. And what I noticed was it took about a month, but then my body, like, 'cause, for example, say like I go to the hookah bar and I hit the hookah, like my dopamine is going way up.
Way up, yeah.
Way up because that's like not naturally coming from the brain. So when I cut all that out, like I'm never going to get those spikes, right? But my body's gonna, now that bar, instead of it being up here and then like working out's like filling 20% of it, it comes down to like where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And now it's filling like 80, 90% of it. So by the end of 75 hard, I had to do 1 indoor workout and 1 outdoor workout. By the end of it, I was doing 3 indoor workouts and then 1 outdoor workout every single day because like I wasn't getting dopamine from anywhere else. I was
it makes sense.
I was on the carnivore diet. So like I was only eating like just meat. So like most of my dopamine came from grinding it out in the gym. So like they say the brain only knows ones and zeros, right? Where's the dopamine coming from? Once it realized it's not getting dopamine from pretty much anywhere else, all it wanted to do was improve.
I wanted to try the 75 hard for that reason, but I thought you were saying where people do a full 24, 48-hour dopamine detox from everything. That's what I thought you were talking about.
No, more like just like starting to control where your dopamine is coming from.
Yeah. No, I with that, when I'm working and doing stuff, I keep that very moderate, even with Instagram or social media or having high screen time. But the highs and extremes, I've tried that.
Yeah.
But that was like 3 years ago. I went, I think, 2 or 3 days with no dopamine hit at all. To then being like, okay, I can go and, you know, have a dopamine reset. And then when I had the dopamine reset, it just went south. Because it's like you go 3 days of no dopamine and immediately your mind starts chasing anything and everything, you know. But I think the way you did it consistently is the right way to go. Yeah,
because I went to Colorado at the end of 75 hard and immediately, like I remember I went crazy on the food, like nobody's business. It was like nobody should be able to eat as much food as I was eating that week. And what's crazy is, dude, so in 5 days, I went from 163 pounds to 183 pounds.
Wow, in 5 days?
20 pounds in 5 days.
Wow.
But now I'm like down to like 175, 174.
Yeah, but see, that's the dopamine thing that I was saying. You go from one extreme to the other extreme because you deprived it so much.
Yeah,
When you are put in that space, it's very hard for you to control it.
exactly.
So that's what I've learned with a lot of things too, where people have extreme left or right. It's like when you are on an extreme,
Mhm.
the other extreme, the bad part of that extreme, will also be just as bad or just as high as the good extreme.
Right.
So unless you do it consistently for a long period of time, where you can measure and scale it, I think it becomes very hard with anything, not just a dopamine detox.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember the first time I ever heard the word dopamine detox was from Alex Becker.
Yeah.
And he was saying he's like, I love playing Super Smash Brothers. And he goes, but the other day I smashed my Nintendo Switch because he's like, even though it's like harmless on paper, it's like that dopamine, if you can control it, it's like a superpower.
Yeah.
It's like a literal superpower that, I mean, I guess would you consider that like biohacking? I'm not exactly sure what they would call it.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried a lot of biohacking stuff, and not that I'm against it. Once again, it goes back to what I said before. You end up doing so much.
Right.
You when I started doing the whole biohacking stuff, I did a lot of it in Miami. Went to places, did a bunch of like floating meditation and a bunch of other stuff. It's great, but it takes you away from the main core thing that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I simplified it. I was like, yo, I'm trying to do everything and anything but work.
Mm-hmm.
I should have a 3 hour, like I was saying, 3 hour morning routine or whatever, instead of just go and do the work.
Right.
You don't need a routine or anything to get into stuff. Like for me, at least.
Yeah.
And I think for majority of people, they don't need it either. It's an escape. Well,
Yeah.
if I go and I, do this biohacking thing, I'll perform better. Yes, when you're already at the top and the peak
Yeah.
of where you're at. But if you're already at the bottom, right, or starting out, that peak is not that's not really going to make a difference in my opinion.
Yeah, I forget who said it. I heard it recently. They're like, the majority of people stay busy to avoid doing the work.
Yeah,
they need,
exactly
need
what
to
it
do.
is. And I did that at a certain point. I did everything and anything but work.
Yeah.
I'm like, what can I do to biohack my brain to be smarter and be at a higher level? And I'm like, after some time, I'm like, wait, I'm not getting anything done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so focused on the wrong stuff that's not moving the needle.
Right.
You sleep well, you eat well, you take care of your mind, body. For me, I think that's all you need.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything beyond that.
Yeah.
That's it.
So are you living in New York full time now?
So I'm back and forth from New York and Miami, right? Primarily there. My family's here, so I'm back and forth a lot. The problem that I have with New York is taxes and bad weather.
Yeah. What's the taxes out here? Isn't it like 17%?
State taxes are like 12%.
Oh, okay.
So Florida has no state taxes.
Right.
Right. So Florida doesn't have state taxes. Florida is also a lot better for business, right? California sucks for businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of regulations. New York is not so bad for businesses, but it's the weather and taxes. And after a certain point, like the 12%, state taxes add up. So it's like, if you can go to Florida, stay there for 6 months and avoid it, why not?
Right.
Right. And it's set up by the tax code. Go live there for 6 months and you're good.
So do you generally just spend the winter there?
Winter wise, yeah, because I hate the winter here. Like, it's terrible. New York winter. I don't like winter anywhere. So New York that's the one thing I try to avoid. This winter I was a little bit here, not so much, but mostly in Florida for that.
And you're not in New York City, right? You're
No.
pretty north.
I'm like about an hour out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I hear winter in New York City is pretty magical though.
It's magical for 2 days.
Dude,
After 2 days, you're like, I want to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, you're like the snow's turning black.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like when you live here, it's not magical because you see it every day.
Yeah.
Right. But for people that come here for vacation for
Mm-hmm.
a week, it's great. But they wouldn't come and live here for a long time. It's too cold, especially when you like warm weather.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna come this winter because I've only been to New York when it's warm.
Yeah, no, it's cool, like I said, but for a couple of days. That's
Yeah.
really about it. If you're not living here, it's great. But
I'd have to plan it out because I think Central Park when it's snowing, I bet that is like the most beautiful sight ever.
yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Did you ever like live in New York City?
No, I actually thought about it in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of before the pandemic, I was gonna get an office down in Wall Street.
Wow.
Right, and then when I looked at the office, I was like, all right, let me get a place here. Right, and then I just couldn't really justify it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, first justifying getting a place here because where I live, coming down here, it's gonna take me about an hour with traffic. Right, and then living here, I just didn't see anything special.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Miami weather is better. You're on the beach, just makes a lot more sense in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I know you're talking about on Twitter earlier. Did you end up I think you ordered like 3 cars, right?
Yeah.
Did you end up canceling any of those?
I think I'm not gonna cancel them. I think I might sell them. I don't know yet.
Because you could probably, what, can you sell them for more than you paid?
Yeah. So one car I got was the SF90, right? For 6 something.
Is that Ferrari?
Yeah. That goes for like 1.1.
Wait, how much did you get for?
600, about 6.
And it's going for 1.1?
It's selling for 1.1 right now.
Oh
You see the
my-
car market. Car market's insane.
Insane.
The second car is the 812 GTS.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with that. I think it's like 200 over.
Oh my.
Yeah,
It's just
so
crazy.
So the way I look at it is, yeah, they're great. I don't even really care about them that much. It's more so that money could be allocated for opportunities that I don't think will come around again.
Yeah.
Like Ethereum at 1,000. Forget it going to 500. Forget it going to 200. Whatever. At $1,000, you're not gonna see that on the next wave.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, where can I allocate this money to park it? And then it also comes, how important is it for me to have the cars? Like, I don't care.
Right.
You know, I got it because I got an allocation to it, and that was really about it.
Well, what cars do you have right now?
Right now, the only car I have is my Urus. I don't.
Amazing.
Yeah. I don't
So
have
what
anything.
made you order 3 more?
I mean, honestly, I just got an allocation. That was it. Because I got the allocation for them. That was it. It was not.
What do you mean allocation?
So it's been very hard to get some cars
Mhm.
at sticker price.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I'm getting them at sticker price. I'm like, hey, I'm getting an SF90 for 600. They're going for $1 million plus. Like, I'm not gonna say no.
How'd you manage that?
So a buddy of mine was connected with someone at Ferrari, and he was able to make it happen.
Wow.
So it was kind of like an interesting way it happened. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Dude, that's insane. Do you see the car market coming down ever?
Yeah, it's gonna come down.
So again, back to the inflation thing. Why would it come down if inflation? Oh, is it just back to the rates?
It's not the rates. I think what has happened in the past 2 years is because of supply chain issues. A lot of
Right.
car companies and whatnot haven't been able to produce. People at that bracket that have extreme amount of wealth, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like G-Wagons are going 100K over.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
If you want one, you don't care if it's going 200 over. You're gonna pay,
Yeah.
right? So I think people started paying, surging up the pricing. I think as we go through a recession, some people are gonna get wiped out. Some people are gonna be more cautious of spending stupid money. You know, supply chain issues will eventually catch up. Not saying tomorrow, not saying this year, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 3 years, maybe earlier. Who knows? That will start bringing pricing down. So eventually, yeah, I think it'll come down. Same thing with the watch market. It's
Yeah.
gonna come down.
Yeah. And you're really into watches. now.
Yeah, I even watches. I think they're really gonna come down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you plan on selling any at the top or just holding?
I mean, every watch I bought holds kind of like a sentimental value to
That's
me.
right,
Maybe
that's
like
right.
instead of 1 or 2, I just bought them to buy them.
Yeah.
And because they hold a sentimental value, like it's kind of like a trophy to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I will never sell that. Like for one watch, I think I paid 32 grand, and I got offered at a store once 105.
Oh my
110.
gosh, this is nuts.
And I'm like, no. And he's like, hey, I really want that piece. I'm like, it's not up for sale. Like, yeah, if someone came and offered me an extreme amount of money, you sell it, you can rebuy it, obviously. But
Right.
that extreme amount of money would have to be like $500,000 or 400K for me to even be like,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But realistically, no, I don't plan to sell it. It's the same concept. When I have kids, pass it down, you know, to them, and that's really about it. Just because it has value behind it.
Right.
There are 1 and 2 that doesn't, but every other watch kind of has value. And the cool thing about the pieces I have, 90% of them I paid retail.
Amazing.
Right, so
is that just through your relationships?
Yeah, so because of that, I paid sticker. So let's say the market for a watch is 80 or 90, right? That's what it's going for in the aftermarket. I'm paying 30, maybe 40.
Gotcha.
Right. So there's a watch I want to get next, which I'm trying to get an allocation for. The retail I think is 90, right? The aftermarket value is 350.
Oh, what?
You see what I'm saying? Now I'm
that's
not gonna go and pay
crazy.
350. I don't care about it that much.
Right.
But if I can get it for sticker value and directly from AP or whatever brand I go with, I mean I'm gonna hold it.
Yeah.
At that point, it's also smart because you're parking money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
That's growing slowly, not
Yeah.
massively. Right now, we're seeing the massive growth, but short-term wise, it's going to hold value and keep that value. So it's not a dumb expense.
It's so amazing to see the mindset of someone for example, the people who can't afford these watches and people who can't, because I'll show someone an $8,000 watch and they'll be like, why would anyone spend money on that? And then like you're telling me, yeah, I might be able to get this watch for 80,000 and it goes for 350. It's so funny how like the different types of mentalities that are out there, even with cars. Obviously the car market's a little like
Yeah,
different
yeah,
than usual
yeah.
right now, but it's just really interesting to see those two types of different mentalities,
Yeah, I think
because people don't really look at watches as assets the same as they would look at like a house or anything, but they can go up in value just the same.
yeah, I mean, once again, it depends what watches, right? I think you have to kind of know what you're buying. You can't just
Hmm.
buy any watch and it wouldn't be an asset. Some watches yes, some watches no. So you do need to understand some of them and what brands and what models that have a limited amount. And you also need to get in at a good price
Yeah.
point. That's if you are in the market of reselling. But majority of people, from what I've seen, collect watches, right? I don't want to call myself a watch flipper or watch seller. I want to collect them. Like I want to have a massive collection, and each watch that I have has a meaning behind it. And to me, I think that's why I don't look at it as an expense, right? So
Yeah.
even if God forbid one day comes, I need the money, you have a vault of tons of money that you can easily offload,
Yeah.
and that holds value. If not, is more.
And you get to enjoy it as much as you want.
Exactly.
Sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Oh my gosh, I hate when I blank out on. Oh, so would you say you have like a favorite watch of all of them?
yeah, what I'm wearing now, this watch I will never sell.
What's the sentimental value behind that?
So this watch was basically so after I kind of achieved some success in trading, I hit like a weird phase of like depression and what's next, and went through like a weird time for a couple of months, right? I think I was 23. Because from 18 till 23 I chased one thing and one thing only, money. It was just I want to make money, I want to make money, and then you make a substantial amount and you go to what's next.
Yeah.
Right? Because in realism, after you make a certain amount of money, I think the quality of life is the same. You go from, let's just say, to an extreme, a bigger house, from an average house to a bigger house to a bigger house to a bigger house, cars, from one car to 10 cars to 20 cars. Everything stays the same. There are some small changes, but lifestyle is very much sustainable. So you start making more money and there's no real purpose, and I hit that wall. And for 6 months I was just in my head, and I was able to get myself out of it. And the thing that made me very proud about that is I didn't resort to drugs or anything bad at all, right? Because I've seen people when they go in those phases, especially at a young age, they'll go to drugs, they'll go to partying, drinking, getting shit faced drunk and things like that. And I kind of stayed away from all of that, kept my mental in check, even though I went through really, really bad extreme lows, and kind of came out of it by working on myself, learning more about who I am. So that's what this watch kind of represents, that I was able to fight the mental battle with myself and overcome it and finding who I really am.
What was the process of you finding who you are? Because so many people, including myself, like get to a point where, like, again, when you chase money and when you get the money, you're like, what am I supposed to chase now?
Yeah. So I think for me at that age, at 23, a lot of it was just kind of really taking a step back and first embracing everything I've done. Because one thing I have a hard time doing is just kind of saying, hey, I did a good job, right? Because it's always been, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I'm not where I want to be. I'm not at this net worth I want to be, or money. So it's taking a step back, going through all of the bad stuff and the good stuff that happened in my life, and embracing it in a way of like, okay, look what you've handled. This is why that happened. This is where this incident came in. So trying to really go into that. Then I started going more into like the spirituality side, a little bit of religion around the time, connecting with that, connecting with the higher self for me, understanding myself in terms of, okay, I don't like this. This is not what I like. This is what I do like. And really realizing that through trial and error, through maybe journaling, writing things down, having a process of learning that through meditating. Meditating was very big for me, and that's why I tell everyone to do it. And taking care of my mental, going to the gym. I started taking my sleep very important. Like my sleep at the age of 22, 23, I was getting 3-4 hours a night.
Damn.
Like legit. I would
What
wake
were you
up.
doing?
Nothing. Realistically, nothing. It was just, you are in front of a computer thinking you're being productive, but you're not.
Yeah.
But you're mentally beating yourself up because I should be working. I should be grinding.
Yeah.
So you're like half dead in front of a computer. Like, I should be working. I should be doing something, but I'm not getting productive working. I'm looking at charts for 7 hours.
Yeah.
It's doing nothing for me. Like now I look at charts, honestly, 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to get better. But what's better? I need to make X amount. Why do I need to make X amount? Okay. Then I started questioning a lot of things. And this guy, Alex Hormozy, said something recently very, very important. And I think it's been like one of the most important things that I've ever heard. And he said, when I was 20 years old, I wanted to be a millionaire. when I was a millionaire at 30, I wanted to be 20.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So he said that, and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. I'm chasing this end goal in terms of being so laser focused in what's in front of me, and I'm missing everything about life, right? Because you hear everyone talk about building legacy and all this stuff, and in realism, it's crap.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, in let's say 20 decades, whatever you do or I do, 99% of the population does, unless you're Elon or Jeff Bezos, even them will not be remembered. LeBron, right, talking about someone at a high caliber, no one's going to remember him in 500 years or 300 years. No matter how good of a basketball player he is, no matter what he does, there's no legacy is not real, if that makes sense.
Well, actually, I would combat you on that, because with the technology now and the store of all the video and everything, it's gonna be really interesting to see how history is viewed in 300 years.
Yeah, I get that, and there is a form of seeing all of that back, but I'm talking about in terms of what we leave now will not continue. You know what I mean? Like if I build, let's say TradeZella, it becomes the world's biggest trading tool. 200 years, 300 years, everything will change.
Gotcha.
So the thing that we change in terms of leaving a legacy is not, I don't want to say not a good approach. I understand it. I do believe in leaving a mark on the world for now, but not leaving a mark on the world for the next 1,000 years. It's just not sustainable.
Gotcha.
Right. So I started thinking about a lot of these things, and I started really thinking deep, reading tons of books, right, about successful people, what journeys they went through, what the end goal is, is there an end goal? And I think it started waking up a different part of me. So from like 24 to 26, I went through like a spiritual awakening of learning more about myself. Like, hey, what do I like? Okay, I want to make money. Of course, money is freedom, but at the expense of what? Not at the expense of my happiness, not at the expense of my mental health. So if something does not make me happy in my life now, but it can make me a lot of money, I won't do it.
Wow.
Like I will not do it. I can start a hedge fund. I don't even want to go a hedge fund route. I can raise capital tomorrow, right? And I have tons of people that are willing to give me money to manage, trading money and whatnot. And if that goes well, I don't want to label that it'll do well. I can make tons of money, right, doing that if it goes well. But it doesn't make me happy. I don't want to do that. So I'm at a point where I won't do those things that don't bring me happiness, that I don't have fun doing, right? So going back to TradeZella, I have fun building that company. I'm having a blast with that. I made $0 from it, right? Like I haven't paid myself out. I'm not even focused on making money on that, but I'm having such a fun time doing it that I'm like, hey, there's nothing that beats this. But obviously with the stage I'm at, which I also want to kind of share with people, I'm able to do that, right? If you're not at that stage where you can make those moves, you need to build the foundation of having wealth or money that can sustain your lifestyle. Like I can go and start a company tomorrow and lose X amount of money, but my day-to-day life, like I said in the beginning, stays maintained.
Right.
So that was my thing at 23, 24. I was like, I just want to achieve one thing, and that's being happy and performing at the highest level that I can perform at. Not looking at Scott and saying, oh, Scott did X, Y, and Z. I need to compete with Scott. Scott's running 10 companies. I need to run 10 companies. No, I need to do what works for me, figure out what works for me, and do that. And keep everything in a 1 to 2 year horizon. Because I had a 10-year plan until 30, right? I had a 10-year plan until 25. I've outblown all of those plans because so many things have happened that I never predicted would happen. And I wasn't able to factor that into a 10-year plan.
Right.
So learning all those things just kind of allowed me to view things different, view things better, and just achieve, I guess, a higher level of happiness and contentmentness, messing up on the word. And that just allowed things to come more to me. And like even now, I work the least, like the last 2 years, I've worked the least in my life, right? In terms of hours put in, but I've made the most money.
Hey, same.
I feel that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like even this year, I've worked the least in my whole life. First, this 6 months, I've worked less than probably my last 4 years combined, right? But I made the most amount of money in terms of.
And you've probably been the happiest.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Instead of, we live in a hustle culture where it's like work, break, work. Okay, but like, where are you going? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Where's the direction headed towards?
Yeah.
And once you get that direction and when you know where you're going, what the end goal is for that time period, right, you start having a better control of things. Start having a better control of yourself. instead of just going at a fast pace but not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'd rather be on the right road going slow and being happy than going and moving a million miles per second.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what do you ever listen to Naval?
Yeah.
He talked about that. He
Mhm.
said you don't want to be the millionaire who got there by constantly who's high strung, stressed out, stressing out everybody around them. You want to get there cool and concise and happy.
Yeah, exactly.
I love what he talks about
Yeah.
because it's so rare for anybody to even have this conversation in the financial world. It's always, I feel like, so rigid and so one dimensional of like, I don't know, just very dry, but
Yeah.
there's so much more to it. And it sounds like you're kind of going through a phase where like you're kind of like deciding what you need to sacrifice in order to evolve, which everybody, you know, needs that question, because it's like if you move that you need to, like, there's again XXX Tentacion, he was an insane mind. If you listen to it, I listened to all of his interviews, and he talked about how like the Catholic religion talks about purgatory, and how purgatory is a real thing on in real life. Like everybody gets to this part of their life where like they have to move that chess piece, but they're so afraid to that they become stagnant and they fall into that purgatory. But it's like when you move that chess piece, you will either fall or evolve.
Yeah.
But if you don't move that chess piece, you'll live in purgatory and you'll live stagnant forever.
Absolutely.
And like in order to move that, you have to choose what it is you're willing to sacrifice in order to evolve. So like earlier when I was talking about I want to sell everything, that's something I seriously want to do, because I feel like my evolution is going to come from life experience by going to live in Cape Town for 2 months.
I think you should do it.
After that, I want to live in Japan for a month.
I 100% think you should do it.
And I think that's where like the inspiration of life's going to come. So I think sacrificing not only material items, but comfortability, in the sense of like general comfort you wouldn't even think about, where like you can understand all the languages being spoke around you, or the signs are in your language. I want to go to Hong Kong, you know, and I just want to figure it out. And I think like that is where the next evolution comes.
I think if it keeps lingering in your mind the way I see it is, I think you should go for it. And that's something I follow myself. If something keeps lingering in my mind, even if it's buying something small or doing something, whatever the case may be, I will eventually say, you know what, there's a reason my gut is guiding me towards that, and I need to do it. Right. And take that jump and just go for it, and just go into the unknown.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of life. I think it sucks because everyone wants to have certainty, but walking into the unknown and uncertainty at times is kind of where beautiful things are made.
That's what life's all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me and Josh were talking about gut feelings earlier before this at I forget what place. I think it was at like Joey's Pizza or something.
Yeah, Joey's Pizza probably.
It was all right, you know. I give it an 8.1. But we were talking about what a gut feeling is, and I'd love to get your opinion on this. I think a gut feeling is your subconscious, and I think your subconscious is God's direct communication in the most subtle way. And so I've noticed, like, every single time I've gone against a gut feeling, it's always come back to bite me. Every time I've ever followed a gut feeling, for example, like when I dropped out of college, it was the first day I moved in, and this pain was in my stomach, and I was like, I don't know, man. I think I need to leave. Someone's telling me to leave. So I called up my mom and I'm like, hey, I know this isn't going to make sense. But something's telling me I know this is going to make sense one day, but it's not going to make sense right now.
Yeah.
I have to drop out of college right now, and I don't understand why, but I need to. And I think that gut feeling guides us to our destiny. I think so many people are not tuned into that they never really find their purpose because of that reason. I think it just goes down to following that gut feeling.
It's hard. It's actually really hard to follow it. I think you need to have extreme amount of confidence. Like even for me, like leaving college was a really hard thing because I was in my third semester, and in the back of my mind, I was like, what if nothing in life works out?
Yeah, I'll
have a backup plan, right? And your mind will gravitate towards you, right? But my gut feeling was like, no, like this is not benefiting, and not by no means am I saying college is not necessary. I think. Also on that note, I think everyone needs to understand if it is beneficial to them or not. Right. And I think for a lot of people that need college, not the education part, but the structure that college brings, the social aspect college brings, the community it brings, right? But for me at that point, I didn't feel like it served me, and my gut feeling told me that, right? And leaving was very hard because of the what if nothing works out. And I was like, wait, so what are my core values? My core values are this is where I want to be. This is how I envision my life to be. Can college help me? No. Will it help me? No. I'm letting fear speak into it. My gut's telling me this, and I, dove into it. And over the years from like 19, 20, 21, I started learning more about following that gut feeling, following that intuition. And I believe it is all energy, it is all spiritual, where life is trying to guide you in a path.
Yes.
And that path, you know, may look bad at first or may look terrible at first, but long term wise, over a course of 5 years, you know, and I have a saying with me with everything, play the long term game. Like I have it in my notes, play the long term game.
Yeah.
So when something looks bad now, you look out 5, 10 years, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
So when my gut tells me to do something, right, and it keeps telling me not one time, over and over and over again, I'm like, listen, man, I got to listen to this gut right now. So that energy and spiritual stuff, I think, is real, and everyone should follow it.
I think it's like a muscle. Like the more you work it out, the stronger it gets.
Yeah, and you got to keep it clean. You got to be level-headed. Can't let emotions and everything play a role. I think when you feel healthy, you feel good, you feel aligned, your gut will play the best role and give you like clear answers. Yeah.
I remember I found an old I remember the day I Googled, do I need to go to college while I was in college? Because I never Googled that before. All my brothers went to college.
Yeah.
My parents went to college. I thought it was like something you had to do. And I remember I ended up, after I Googled it, I looked at it, and then I was like, rap has like shaped my life so much. But there was a logic line where he was like, most of these people are paying tuition when they should have just listened to intuition. Now they're wishing they were switching up their lifestyle. And I remember I wrote that on a piece of paper and put it under a random keyboard. And I found that photo the other day, and I've been told angel numbers are 444. When I took the photo at the top, it says 444.
Wow, no way.
Right when I said that. And then like when it comes to intuition, it's so weird because like there is that voice in your head that, and sometimes you just do it just so it'll shut up. When I started one product drop shipping, or when I thought of it, like it was in a creek. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
I was like in a creek with my friends, and all of a sudden it felt like a literal like thought from an angel came and hit me in the head. And, like that's how powerful it was.
Wow.
Because my whole brain started heating up. I remember like feeling it getting really hot, and it kept saying one product drop shipping. So in the morning, I was thinking about that, and I was like, there might be something to that. Let me Google it, and there was nothing on Google. I launched a store. It kind of worked for a little bit, but then I shut down to move to LA to be an Uber driver. But the thing with that is, while I was driving Uber, dude, that same thought kept pounding me in my head. There's something to one product drop shipping. Keep going. And then just to shut up that voice, I ended up launching, and that ended up being my first successful store, which took me from Uber driver to drop shipper to YouTuber to Shopify affiliate to everything I'm doing now, all because all because I listened to that gut. And so like, I think anybody listening right now, they know there's some, like Jordan Peterson said, the root of 99% of people's problems is they're not doing what they know they need to be done when it needs to be done.
It's hard too. That's another thing. It's really hard. But I think that's a great point you brought up, how you went from Uber driver to next stage. I think that's a pretty interesting thing, because a lot of people see successful individuals at a level and they're like, I want to do what he or she does. But they don't understand the way that person got to that point is making the first move. The first move leads to the second move, leads to the third open door, fifth open door, seventh opportunity. Like, for example, in my situation, having a SaaS business, I never thought I would have a SaaS business. This started from one door of trading leading to another door, to having momentum, to now having cash flow, to having money to be able to be in this situation. So a lot of people that feel stuck, the only thing you have to do sometimes is move. Make one move, do something. Once you start moving and building momentum, that momentum starts increasing and starts taking you to higher and higher frequencies, just like the way you are at right now. And with this frequency you're moving at, you'll go to a higher and higher frequency, which all started from that first initial move.
Yeah, and the first initial move was dropping out of college. And let's be clear, I spent a year as a busser before I became an Uber driver. So I was really going through it. But again, it's like you said, it's like that path. So many people are scared of the path unknown and the path less traveled, that they're not willing to make that chess move piece.
Exactly.
And always stay stagnant in that one spot. And again, I think everybody should just make that move.
Yeah. Once again, it's hard too, you know. I think some people need a support system around them to make a move. And some people are brave enough to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So I get it from some people's point of views that are unable to make certain moves too.
Yeah. But that's what life's about. If you're not evolving, you're falling into that purgatory.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah.
And that's what it comes back to. So I think we should wrap this up, since we got we're approaching 2 hours.
Yeah, I know. I realize.
So I say we should hit that 2 hour mark. So what do you want the people to know in terms of what you're working on right now and what you have in the future?
So right now, the main thing that I have going on is TradeZella,
Mm-hmm.
right? People that follow me have seen it. It's a tracking tool. So the goal we have with it, like I said before, is we are trying to empower retail traders, right, to become successful, period. The way you can become successful is by going through your data, right? Your trading data. So we work in a way where we take your your trades, we input it into our system, like you upload them, and once you upload them, you can see all your data, your insights, what you need to improve, what you need to work on, what you're doing a good job at, right? We've also included like education components. We've also included things to help you become a better trader. We've done boot camps, things like that. So we're taking the average trader and we're telling them, hey, this is how you track your trades. This is what you should look for. This is the right systematic way to trade, right? We're not going to tell you, come here and buy, this stock and it's going to go up eventually. No, we're going to show you a systematic, boring way. Once again, a boring, systematic way to make money, because trading is not fun. When you really think about trading, it's actually very boring. Most of it is you sitting on your hands, waiting for the opportunity, executing, having a plan, and exiting. So we want to bring that to the masses, the right way of trading, right? And with the trading space in the past 2 years, it's kind of geared off that.
Oh yeah.
It's gotten more into, we'll tell you what to buy and you'll 5x or 10x your money.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what do you think about those groups? Because I know you have a Discord, right?
So I don't have a Discord. I've never really had a Discord. I have a trading program, and we've kind of shut that off for the past 3 months.
Okay.
So I was in a weird stage where I wanted to step away from the education space, because there's a notion of the moment you sell education, you're labeled as a scam.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, hey, listen, I have a goal. I want to reach here. I want to get into tech. I want to do all these things. Like how does it look for me to sell education? So I kind of took a step back from it in terms of like, okay, do I want to keep selling education? Do I want to keep doing it? Because everyone has gotten into it the past 2 years. And I'm always about doing things separately from everyone, right? If I see everyone doing something, I don't want to do it. If people can do it and it's an easy entryway, I don't want to be a part of it. It's just the way I'm wired. So that kind of pushed me away from it. We shut the program down. And then recently, like a month and a half ago, I was like, you know what? There's not a lot of people in this space that can log into an account and that can show that they made X amount. Yeah. Right. You go on my Instagram, you go on my YouTube, you go on my Twitter. I'm logging into an account, a trading account, and saying, hey, look, this year I've made X amount. I'm not showing you a screenshot. I'm not showing you no BS anything. Yeah. It's an actual video of saying, hey, look, this is what I made. This is how much I started with last year in 2021. Started one account with 200K, walked out 5.5 realized profits just from day trading.
Insane.
Right.
And I had a question for you about that.
Yeah.
How do you have the discipline to like not? You started with 200K, you said?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe not technically, but like if you did 2 million, what's stopping you from doing 2 million and clearing 50 million?
So because I trade options, so options don't have that much liquidity.
Gotcha.
So I can't, if I go in very heavy, market maker step in. Also, there's a fine line of size in options, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go, or trading overall, when you go in with heavy size, now one position fluctuating 5-10 grand for me becomes 50 to 100 grand.
Yeah.
I'm not at a capacity to risk 100 grand a minute yet.
Yeah.
So when I go in with more size, it becomes more explosive on the downside. Obviously, I have more upside, but I haven't built myself there. That's what I'm want to work on. But because this year I've kind of geared a little bit back from trading, I haven't been as active.
Gotcha.
Right. But that's kind of the wall, because people are like, oh, well, if you can grow it from this to 5.5, why don't you start with 5.5 again? I'm like, I can't go into an option position with 5.5, get in and get out. Just not possible.
So you've been trading options a lot more often.
Options, yeah, mostly options.
Because when we talked 2 years ago, I remember you said that you just started, I think, like that year, pretty going heavy into it, right?
Yeah, I started going into options heavy from 2018.
Oh, okay.
But I got super involved with position sizing and being aggressive in like 2020.
Gotcha.
Like that's when I was like really hammering it down and going into it.
So at the end of the year, do you take that money out and?
Yeah, so I'm taking the money out like throughout the year. So my account was never fully at 5.5.
Oh, okay, I see.
Or 5.7, whatever. It was like, even when I posted the video, I think I had 700 grand in that account.
Mm-hmm.
So I take money out, I put some away for taxes, I take the other money, I invest it, I park it into the markets, whatever the case is. I don't really sit on heavy cash, and if I do, I'll park it in like I said, ExxonMobil, right, or some dividend stocks. I'll park it, pull the cash out, and rotate it into like better names.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I did with that. I had another account. I did about 2 million on that. So that was 7.5 just on day trading. right? And what
Jesus.
people don't understand is I traded crypto. I realized profits last year in trading. I realized profits in some crypto last year. I had a swing trading account, but the reason I don't post these accounts is because I have no benefit to go and say, hey, I made X amount of crypto trading. So I traded crypto heavily last year from March till June, like
Wow.
super heavy.
I did not
right?
know that.
Did 7 figures on just crypto.
Oh my god.
But once again, I have no benefit of sitting here and saying, besides bragging reasons, say, hey, I made X amount on crypto.
Yeah.
But now the reason even me posting how much I did in trading is because I had a trading program,
Yeah.
right? It's like, hey, if you want to learn from someone, I have a trading program that exists, but here you go. I've made money. I am a trader that's made 7+8 figures from the market, right? So going back to SML, Stock Market Lab, I stepped away from that for that reason where I'm like, I don't want to be in this trading space anymore. Even if you go on my YouTube or Instagram, I don't market it.
Mm-hmm.
I just let it be where if people want to sign up, they'll sign up for it, right? But then I reversed that mindset. I'm like, listen, I do good at what I do. I can prove that I make money off it. Why am I going to stop it? And we've had a lot of people that entered our program. I'm not trying to like, promote it or anything because I hate, it's just a weird thing that I have that I'm not comfortable with, right? But we've had people that taken it and came out to be 6-figure, 7-figure traders. Now there's no secret to it, right? And this goes for everyone. Like you don't have to take a program, even your program, anyone that has any sort of program, you don't have to take anything.
Right.
But taking a program from someone that is in that space and is doing well will save you money, right? And will save you time.
Yeah.
Right. For me, it took me 2.5 years to get successful. People that have taken like the SML program achieved it in 6 months because all my experiences I went through, all the lessons I've learned through, all the bluff that I've learned that wasn't necessary, I cut out.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what you need. This is how you apply it. This is a routine. This is a method. And that's it. And then it goes to a second question. People go, well, if you sell something, aren't you going to lose money because now you're selling your strategy? And I'm like, I'm not selling any strategy. There's no strategy in the market that works. If I had one strategy that works, I promise you, like no one is selling that. There just doesn't exist. I don't even market that. It's, hey, we educate you on becoming a successful trader through different methods and strategies and exercises. And at the end, you become a well-developed seasoned trader, period. No alerts, no what to buy, what not to buy, what not to sell. So we kind of transitioned away from that. So right now what we're doing is we are relaunching the whole brand. So after I took like 3 months off, I'm like, you know what? We're going to relaunch the brand. We're going to add new courses, add new programs, add new components, and we're going to rebrand what we're selling and target a different audience, a better audience.
Gotcha.
Right? But that's just kind of a side thing. The main focus is just TradeZella, period.
Yeah.
Like just want to build the best trading tool. And like I was telling you before, I've made $0 from it yet. I haven't paid myself. I don't plan on paying myself. Every dollar that's coming in, going back into development, paying the development team very, very heavy to grow this and make this a good tool, right? Other companies that are competitors are in the space, in the past year, they've come out with 0 features. We every month are rolling out 10 new features.
Yeah, I saw you integrated Robinhood the other
Yeah,
day.
so exactly. So we're integrating a lot of things, APS syncs, new features, and features that work and help you because it's being built from a person that is a successful trader.
Exactly.
These other companies that exist, right? Not a single one of the developers are traders themselves.
And they're doing it specifically for money.
Yeah, and it's all, you can see how the development is done. It's you can tell a developer made it, not a trader.
Yeah.
So there's no benefit. You'll see a bunch of numbers that looks cool and a bunch of different reports that look cool, but they have no value.
Yeah.
It's not benefiting the end user. So when I saw that, I was like, wait, there's nothing out there that can actually benefit you. Why don't we create something?
Yeah.
And then when the idea of creating something came, I'll be honest, I was scared. Like I was super scared. I was like, I know nothing about tech. I know nothing about software development. Do I get myself into this? Do I go and keep trading? Like, I don't know. Do I even know how to run a company at this magnitude? What if it becomes like, I know nothing. And then one day I woke up and I said, you know what? What's the worst that's going to happen? I'll lose money on it. Right. And once again, different situation. I'm in that predicament to lose that. Right. Just to share with other people because I don't want people to think the same way. Well, I only have X amount to my name. I'm going to dump it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Right,
I'm going to lose it all. Right. Be smart with your money. But for me, it was just, hey, I'll figure it out. I believe in this and I want to challenge myself. Right. I want to challenge myself. And if I can't challenge myself to make this a good product and, reach the market, I won't be able to hit anything I have set out for myself in life because everything that I need to do is going to be new to me. Mm-hmm. Right. So if I can't take this new project, new challenge and elevate it down 5-6 years, if I want to start a new project, I'm going to have the same problem. Yeah. So why not overcome the problem now? And we started in 2020 And honestly, it was such a terrible road. First,
Oh, really?
yeah, it was not easy. First team we had, we spent a ton of money with them. They built everything, looked pretty from the front end, but the back end was like ultimately destroyed.
How'd you find that team?
So that team, I kind of took more of a lazier route. That was my mistake, and I take full accountability.
You're not
Right?
telling me you went on Fiverr, did you?
No, 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 no. I didn't do that. So I knew a software developer who worked with an agency, and then they were the first team to present me something.
Gotcha.
So because that was my first presentation of a company working on a software project, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Which is what you should do, is you should, anything you do, get 3-4 different opinions. Because if you get one opinion, that would be the best or the worst opinion right away.
Yeah.
So don't be attached to the first opinion on anything. Even if you go to a doctor.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Even a dot.
Yeah. Get third, fourth opinions. You go to a lawyer, get third, fourth opinions. They only know as much as they know.
Yeah.
Right. But now if you go to different opinions or different doctors or different whatever you go to, you'll have a different outlook on the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I looked at it like, okay, it's going to cost me another 2 weeks. And this was in February of 2020 when I had my first trading $1 million month. So I was like, it's going to cost me another 2 weeks. What's 2 weeks worth to me right now? 2 weeks are worth this much. Is it really worth it if I go find someone cheaper or better? It's okay. Let me just dump the money and start. And I did that. And, over time, it was terrible on the back end. Like terrible. Like in coding lingo, for people that do understand coding and development, everything on the back end was not structured well. It wasn't architected well. It needed, there's a word for it. It's not coming to me right now. It needed to be refactored. So what I did when we were supposed to launch initially in September 2020, right? I went and I was like, everything's breaking. They're like, oh, well, it's supposed to break.
What?
I was like, yeah, well, what do you mean it's supposed to break? It's every day. And then they weren't meeting deadlines, so many things. So I went to 3-4 other development companies and I said, hey, what do you think of this? They all had the same thing to say. And I'm like, wait, maybe they just want to take my business. Like, you get caught up in that. I was like, let me go to 3 more. And I'm paying these people. It's not free. I'm paying them to do an audit on the code.
Right.
Everyone has the same more or less things to say. The code isn't structured right. You can't scale. If you add more features, it's going to become harder to build them. It's going to cost you more money, all these things. And I go to them and I bring it. And they're like, yeah, we're going to do it later. I'm like, what do you mean you're going to do it later? Like, what? Right? So I owed them some money, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to pay you this money until you fix it. So they realized, like, hey, it's going to cost us more money to fix it than to get the money. So we did that contract. Wow. And then for 4 months, I went into looking for a new company, right? And there was a time, I think in 2021, February, was it 2021? Yeah. I had interviews for 2 weeks. I probably spoke to 70, 80 different people / companies.
Wow.
Just back and forth, just finding the perfect fit. And now, you're a little hesitant on bringing someone on board. And then I finally got this company. Once again, don't want to take anyone's name for whatever reason. Hired this company. They were based out in California. Hired them for 4 weeks. They charged $6,000 per week. Right. Wow. Good development is not cheap.
Yeah.
So they charged $6,000 per week. I did, I think, 4 to 6 weeks with them. I did 4 to 6 sprints. Each sprint was 1 week. Spent about $50,000 and nothing moved. And I'm
really?
Like, nothing. And I'm like, wait.
What were they doing?
So he would say, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And there was massive miscommunication, massive understanding of what was happening. And I thought about at that point, do I take this team to court? Right. And I got pissed off. And, your ego plays a role. You're like, screw it. I'm going to take you to court. I don't even care about the money. And I thought about it. I spoke to some people and they're like, well, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You're going to burn through money. You'll maybe win the money. You'll maybe get some of it back, but you're going to burn your money and time.
Yeah.
So I said, whatever. I let them go. And then I took a whole step back. This is last year in April, right? When I took a whole step back, I was like, okay, I need to find the right team. And there was one team, like we're going back to intuition, that kept coming to my mind. Don't want to take their name either, who I'm working with now. And I was like, you know what? This team kept coming to my mind in December, January, February, March, whatever. They're expensive. Okay. They've already built a company that's worth $3 billion.
Damn.
So they have that under their belt, but they're not cheap.
Yeah.
Like they're probably at the top tier 1% of development costs. Like it's not a team in India or somewhere where I'm paying $15-$20 per hour. Like they're actually very expensive, right? And I was like, okay, do I take this route of spending more money, or do I go in and find a cheaper alternative? And I'm already spending a lot of money on existing teams. Right. It wasn't like I was cheaping out. I started learning a little bit of things, understanding some lingo, understanding approaches, speaking to different people, paying consultants, just to understand what's a good approach. They had a phenomenal approach on how they're gonna, take the project, what they're gonna do. They're gonna refactor the existing code, yada yada yada, all technical stuff. We got to a good product until November of last year, right? We got to a good product, and this is where we kind of reworked on the whole project again just to fix all the stuff. We spent some money, and then we launched officially at the end of January. And I was very scared to launch because it's like, when you have your own product, your own service, you're like, it's not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, is it not good enough? And it's missing this, it's missing that, it's missing this,
Right,
it's
it's
missing
never
that.
the right time.
It's never enough. And then at one point I was like, you know what? We got to push it out. We got to get out and do it.
So was this the public launch, or were you doing beta before this?
We don't know. We did beta prior. Beta was out the way. We had a few people test it. This was
Gotcha.
kind of an invite only launch.
Gotcha.
We have not done a public launch. Right? It's just private in-house launch type of thing. Just by invite only. You can only get on if you are invited, right? And we did it, and honestly, we got phenomenal results.
Amazing.
People loved it, and from then till now, we've been still building, right? We constantly building new features. We listen to people. What do you need? What do you want? What makes sense? And we keep adding those things. Not obviously taking everyone's request and adding it. And we've been just kind of adding that, building that. And it's at a point now where that team is so systematic, TradeZella, where I'm not required on a day-to-day.
That's amazing.
Right? So I have two sisters, and they run the whole operation.
That's what I was going to ask you, because it seems like you're working with your sisters.
Yeah.
in this.
So both my sisters run the whole operations, right?
Wow.
One handles everything from the marketing department to the CRM, customers, and stuff like that. The other sister handles everything with the team development meetings we have, feature meetings we have, daily stand-ups, bringing on new people, hiring the people, building out documents and things for our people that are on our team and things like that. So they're primarily been running everything, which makes my life a lot easier, because if they weren't running it, I would now have a full-time thing, and we wouldn't be at the scale we're at. So the good thing is we're all three on the same path on where we're trying to get to and what we're trying to do. And everyone has their certain role. And my biggest role is just to trade.
Yeah.
Like my thing is to trade well, use the platform, work on what features need to be added. And that is it. Right? Because that makes sense. Because if I trade well, I use the platform, I'm able to see what the platform needs to improve. I can see it from a trader's perspective, and they run the whole operations in terms of marketing, software development. And we have a team, we have a team of 3 developers running right now, product manager, designer, just on the development side.
And I imagine you use the money from the trading to fund the whole operation too.
So yeah, so we've done that up until now. Now it's self-funded.
Oh my God.
It's self-funded.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's all self-funded at this point. And I don't. So I've been because I've been very public with my trading numbers. There's also a fine line of like, okay, how public do I get with TradeZella numbers, right? And I plan on getting public with it in a year for many other reasons I have. I don't want to now for reasons I have as well. But in terms of our growth on just private launch, any person that has been in SaaS industries, people that have been in 4 years, 5 years, we've been able to accomplish what people do in 3-4 years in 4 months.
Amazing.
In terms of growth, in terms of ARR, MRR.
And that come down to the team.
Yeah, all of those numbers are phenomenal, right? So from a great product to a great marketing to now being funded on its own, a SaaS product that we just launched in January. It's,
wow.
Even the development team and the agency we're working with, they were even surprised because the guy initially didn't believe it.
Oh, really?
He's like, yeah, people have estimates and blah, blah. I was like, no, I think we're going to achieve this in like month 3. And I think in month 2, we achieved it in profitability, in terms of making it self-funded and not needing me to pour more money into it. Because up until January, I poured money into it. Every dollar obviously came from me. But besides that, and now we've gotten a few offers, by the way, for people wanting to invest or take equity. And it's 100%. It's like, no, unless someone can come in and provide exceptional value, we're not taking outside money. We're keeping it in-house and just trying to scale it as much as we can so we can control the product. Right? We want to control the product and make it a good product and not let VCs come in or someone come in and say, well, product doesn't matter, focus on growth and get 20,000 customers, 30,000 customers. Like, no, we want to do it strategically in our way. And that's why we're not open to the public. If we open to the public, we'll probably get 10, 20, 30,000 customers tomorrow. But it's like, no, we want to take a few customers, make it a good product, elevate that product and then take it from there, besides giving people a crappy product or overloading the platform and not getting proper feedback.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know all that. I'm glad we got into that.
Yeah. These are things people don't see, that see the end result and like, oh, great. And I'm like, no one understands how many times I thought about being like, hey, I think I'm going to stop this.
Yeah, especially after the first and then the second.
I was like, it's taking time away from my trading, it's taking time away from my other business, it's taking time away from you overall, and it's becoming a mental thing now where I'm feeling defeated over and over again. And I'm like, do I keep doing this? Maybe it's not for me. Okay, I tried it, it didn't work, and we all hit those phases. But it's like, how do you get yourself out of that phase to, keep going?
Right. Yeah. Wow. I guess my last question: do you only have 2 sisters?
Yeah, 2 sisters.
That's so you get to work with your whole like siblings. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's great. It's sometimes it sucks, sometimes it's good, but it's just being aligned well, right?
Yeah.
Having the boundaries of respecting one another, and having the boundaries of like listening to each other, right? I think with a lot of siblings, it's like, oh, because I'm older, right? I'm like 5-6 years older. I'm older. I know what I'm doing. You're stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like, that's not how we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this in a professional way. You have a voice. I have a voice. You have a voice. We're all going to be aligned. We're also going to be open to communication. Like, I'm someone that if we're working together, I don't want to be in an environment, and they're very similar, where I have to watch what I say to you.
Right.
Right. Like if I say, hey, Scott, that sucks.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal. I'm saying your work sucks, not you.
Yeah.
Take that and be like, how does it suck? Can you tell me how? Don't think, oh, he's saying it sucks because he doesn't like me or she doesn't like me. So we have the understanding that of being open to, sharing that, hey, that's not a good job, or that's a great job, or hey, you're slacking here, and respecting those boundaries and understandings of one another, where most people, even in the work environment, don't have that.
Yeah.
So anyone that even works with us, because I don't say anyone works for me, and I don't like that saying, or like the saying of employee. Everyone that's part of our team works with us. We have one goal, right? There's no, this person works for me. Our whole thing with everyone is we have a monthly meeting for all companies where, hey, talk your shit. Tell me what I need to improve on. No, legit. What do I need to improve on?
Yeah.
What do you need to improve on? What are you slacking on? Just an open environment, and no one takes it personal, right? Because if you start taking those things personally, you start having a terrible culture, and that culture doesn't allow the company to grow and evolve. But everyone within the company needs to have the same goal. What's the end goal? What are we trying to achieve? Same thing with Stock Market Lab. What's the end goal? We want to produce great traders from this program. How do we do that? Forget the profits, forget the numbers. No, one goal. And we treat every person that comes in the same way in terms of making them achieve that profitability. And with every company and everything, it's aligned the same way. So if anyone that comes into the culture, they're not aligned with that mission, no matter what it is, you're not a fit.
Yeah.
Right? We had some developers that didn't believe in trading. Like, the trading is a scam. We're not going to have you on
They
the
said
team.
that to you?
Yeah, they're like, trading is
Why
a
would
scam.
they say that?
So it's like, we can't have you work on a product that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
You're not going to be passionate about. So those people, obviously, we had to remove for those reasons. So it's just getting everyone aligned within that plan. Yeah. And all these things are just trials and errors you learn within life. And my way of looking at everything is just look at life as a video game, right? Every level you're at, you need to maximize everything you learn from that. Because if you skip level 8, when you get to level 60, right, what you missed at level 8 and the shortcuts you took are not going to affect your level 60. So whatever level you're at, whatever hardships you're going through, embrace it. And everyone thinks as you make more money or as you get higher, things get easier. No, you just learn how to deal with it better.
Yeah.
Right? There's more problems as you start making more money. Yes, not saying it's a bad thing, but the problems elevate too on a higher degree because the fall becomes worse. Now you're not dealing with a $10,000 loss. You're dealing with $1 million loss. Yes, maybe you can stomach it because you have the money and skill sets, but still the problems become a lot bigger. It's just you become better at dealing with every individual problem instead of not having any problems, right? Because people from the outside see, oh, there's no problems. I'm like, yeah, if you see the actual day-to-day and the things that break and the things that go wrong and the things that happen, right? You'd be like, what? But no one sees that. Everyone just sees the small highlight of the beautiful thing. And they're like, oh, wow, I wish I had that. I'm like, no, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that's not pretty, but embrace that because that process is what's going to make you as a better person and elevate you to the next level.
I think, everything you said right there, talking about the development of TradeZella, I think that really shows people that there's a lot more than goes into just like, that's insane. So I guess my final question would be, you said that multiple times throughout it, you thought, is this for me? You started questioning that. What advice would you give people to say at what point, like, because there's some things that people pursue and then, they got to realize that they have to cut their losses and move on to something else, or there's some things people pursue and then like you keep going and then eventually find success. How do you differ between pursuits that are like just harming your life and the pursuits that you need to push through?
That's a really good question. So I think it depends on what it is, number one. So in my situation, my problem or what was holding me back was development. It wasn't that the product sucked. It wasn't that there wasn't a market for the product. It wasn't that we didn't have funding or we didn't have the capital to support it. Let's just say, hypothetically, it cost 100 grand. Let's say the whole project. And I only had 100 grand to my name. Not knowing development, not knowing anything, not having money for marketing or whatnot. Is it smart for me to spend the 100K and go into it? No. But in my situation, the funding was there, right? Everything was there to give me the tools to achieve success, right? So I can go and get a development team and pay a higher premium where most people starting out can't do that. So for me, it was understanding the right team, the right fit, and how to manage that team to get us to where we want to get to. So that was my job to learn and understand. So I never got to the full point of like, this is not going to work. Now, let's just say we launched in January. Let's just say we didn't have attention. Let's just say we didn't have buzz. We didn't have no hype around us. Okay, now it's like, wait, do we keep doing this? Right? So our wait list, just talk about that. We have a wait list of 30,000 people. Instagram, we're already at almost 27,000. Twitter at 10,000. All organic.
27,000
followers
on Instagram.
on Instagram.
Wow,
organic.
That's insane for us.
Just software. Organic. We have no paid promotion. No one gave us a shout out. Nothing. Just by me promoting it, people using it got to 27,000 right now currently. Twitter, we're at 10.3K. Waitlist, email list of 30,000 people. Everything organic. $0 spent on marketing.
Wow.
So there's a product there. There's something that people need. So if none of that was there and the funding wasn't there, it would have been like, okay, it's smart for me to cut my losses on this, and I'm not gonna.
Gotcha.
But in that predicament, it was just, how do I bridge the gap of figuring out the development, getting the right team to make this happen. That was it.
To meet the demand.
Yeah. That just took me a long, long time, right? And it was very, very difficult. But hey, that's what makes great stories, and that's what makes great individuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was the big gap. But now, like I said, if it was the funding was the problem, and I didn't have the funding, or I didn't have cash flow, I wasn't trading, or I didn't have the money supported, I would have cut it in 6 months.
Yeah.
Like when the first fail happened, I would have cut it. I wouldn't have the money to keep going. So that's where I think people need to be a little bit more risk calculated, because now, once again, the culture is take extreme risks. No, take calculated risks. Mm-hmm. Like not Steve Jobs, Bill Gates left college to start a software company. No, if you guys pay attention to it, Bill Gates made sure he can come back next semester. He made sure with his college. Yeah. I think it was Bill Gates with Steve Jobs. They made sure they can come back next semester. They took an off year. So if this doesn't work, I'm going to come back. So strategically, they're placing themselves at the best possible situation instead of being blind and I'm going to go and take a risk. So in my situation as well, it was, okay, how much can I contribute to this? What will I contribute? Is there a market? Can we grow? What are we going to have to spend? Like, you really look into it, and what is the final piece is missing? That was it. And that's my job to figure it out. Right. And that was the difficult part. And I did. Right. Wow. We got to it, and now it's moving well. We're still having problems. Obviously, it's not perfect. We deal with problems on a day-to-day basis, but that's what will make a great product, company, and individual.
100%.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point to end it right here. That was crazy. I didn't expect that, but I'm so glad we got into that.
No, me too. I think
people are going to really enjoy all that.
No, absolutely.
So is there any final words?
No, I think... I guess, for people that did get started in trading or anything new in the past 2 years, or made easy money, just understand markets are shifting, times are shifting.
Yeah. Even you said, like, you have no experience in trading in a recession.
Yeah. I was very clear about that. I made a whole post just to be like, hey, even everything I spoke about today, I like, not to say don't, like, I've never been in that predicament. I'm just going off historical data, learning what I can as much as I can and sharing that. I'm not Ray Dalio, who's been in this predicament, and that's me being super transparent. I'm not saying, hey, this is what's gonna happen. No, this is what I think is gonna happen with the knowledge I have, period.
Yeah.
Like, that's all. So just learn as much as you can, execute on it, and whatever career you're in, just my thing is laser focus on one thing, scale it, be the best at it you possibly can, and let everything else kind of gravitate towards you instead of you going towards everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Omar, I really respect you and how honest you are. Like, it's so funny how people who, could bring in trading profit, 5% of your trading profits are acting like they know it all even during this time, you know, but like you're just brutally honest with everybody, and I think that's the reason for how successful you are.
I
So
appreciate that. Thank you.
like if anyone's going to use any software and trading, like if anyone I know, you're the man to learn stocks from. You're the man. You're just the man in general.
I appreciate it, Scott. Thank you.
Thanks for driving out here.
Thank you for coming out here, man. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I think this was better than our first one.
Yeah, way better, way more in depth. And 2 hours. I didn't even know it was 2 hours
No,
until
I mean, we're at 3 hours now, actually, because I forgot I started this.
Oh man.
Crazy. All right. See you guys.
Oh man.
Wow.
You gotta use the bathroom. I know you do.